At burgers, I'm going to put the pre-show live.
Okay,
We're talking
fair
about
enough.
burgers, food. Hello,
Burgers.
hello, Proby One. Where did you see Sonic?
Oh, the Twitch ad.
Hmm.
I'm clearly being directly targeted.
It would work on me.
Oh yeah. I'm ready to go back to Sonic. And I don't even really like, I mean, not I wouldn't say I don't like Sonic. I like Sonic. It's just it's involves driving to Rhode Island. So,
Hmm.
you know.
It's the it's not worth the drive, but it's good.
Yeah.
If it was closer, you'd go more.
If we're going there for other reasons, right? Then we will
Yeah.
stop there. Like if we're going to Connecticut for reasons. We
Yeah.
don't have that many reasons anymore, but you know.
This isn't gonna work well, but if you're going for a road trip,
Oh, I
you
see
know,
what you did there.
No.
like
Oh, no.
road trip. I'm typing it in Twitch chat so they understand. It works better in text, but you see where I was where I was going.
I picked up what you're putting down. Yep.
I
I
figured
got
that
it.
you would.
Yep.
Hello, Lepton. Hello, Matt. Hello, Drexta. Hello, Wonky. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, put this.
But you know, when we go on a road trip, then seafood draws close. So.
What a good hero.
Almost makes Demon Hunter palatable. Almost.
Technical. All right, so this is Hearthstone specific.
The DDoS.
No, today I don't know if it's a DDoS. The Blizzard CS said technical issues and it's Hearthstone exclusive.
No. Too many people play Drekthar. That's it.
It might be. But it's most of the people I know are in BGs today.
Maybe they're playing Drekthar and BGs.
Oh, that's right. He is in there. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So why would you pick him?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe you don't like to win. I don't know.
Well, he doesn't do that in BGs. So yeah, if I was looking to not win, where is he actually? He is. Is he last place? It's not last place. It's pretty low. Last place is Onyxia, huh?
Yeah, I mean that was I would expect that should be the case for a lot of the Buddies era heroes, right?
Yeah, Onyxia is probably the poster child there, because most of the ones on the bottom are older, like Sneed, Arana, Pyramid, Sourfang. Like, these were not designed for buddies, but Onyxia very specifically was.
Well, Arana
like,
was benefiting from buddies pretty hard, I think, if memory serves.
Yep. Good luck, Lepton. Yeah, Onyxia was, like, the poster child for design around buddies, though Dawn Grasp is pretty good. And they, like, Tier 3, they were released at the end of the buddy era. And there are a few of these other ones. I don't think it has to be that way, but I think it definitely is for Onyxia. That cleared the buddy was a big part of the power there.
Yeah.
But also, HS Replay has not updated their comps yet, because Naga is not listed at all. And Grey Lego.
Seems fishy to me.
Yes. Murloc's still good.
Obviously. Yeah, I heard. I heard that.
Thank you for the sub,
It's funny how Poison's good in BGs, imagine.
Yeah. Gonna see a lot of that in Lobby Legends this weekend.
I mean, if you're awake for it, yeah.
But you don't have to watch it live. They record it, and then you can watch it later.
I mean, I guess, in theory. But then you get spoiled, you know. It's like watching the Super Bowl afterwards.
I don't know enough about BGs for the time sensitivity of the news to be relevant to me. Also, I love that all the European players this is technically EU friendly, but it's at 8 a.m. European time, and they're all like, "Oh no!"
Oh, my video card is in Teterboro, New Jersey. So
it's not too far from you.
Yeah, so tomorrow by 10 p.m. they say. So hopefully it's substantially before that.
Could be nice, but probably do that after your stream, not before. Probably after. Probably Saturday.
Well, it depends on how early it comes. If it comes, during the day, like in the
Probably still
afternoon.
Saturday.
Yeah, probably. I guess if I'm not, I thought I was going to be casting all weekend. I'm just casting Sunday, so
I think Saturday is a
but
good day
Saturday.
to allow opportunity for technical issues and bandwidth to
Yeah, I
solve them.
suppose. I guess. God damn it! I hate when you're rational.
Yes, Proby1, you can put in whatever mix of cards at the bottom there. I would leave in one Bone Glaive personally, no matter what. But the 30th card can be basically anything you want as long as it's not a minion that costs 4 or more. But otherwise, it can
Well,
be
see, now that
whatever.
they have the new feature where you can add extra cards, you can just put all those in your deck. You just can't save
That isn't in the game yet, but it will be.
it.
From Alaska, that sounds nice. My brothers actually lived there for a while in Homer. Said it was great. There was one time they overnight shipped us some fresh caught salmon. It was pretty incredible.
Mm.
Long time ago. Let's see. There is a
No,
real
that's a
feature that's been
real
data
feature.
mined, DeWolf. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not
coming.
in
It's
the
not there
game
yet.
yet, but it is. Yeah.
So I'm casting DreamHack Major on Sunday. Greg, like I'll talk about it in tournaments.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm excited.
Okay.
It's been way too long since I've casted, and I'm very excited to get back to it. Gosh, it was January the last time, and that was that wild tournament that didn't actually get streamed.
It was indeed that wild tournament. Okay. Homer. So, Big Jim, my brothers, they lived on the Kenai Peninsula with their dad. And like that was just it was a place where they had for vacation that turned into an actual place that they lived for a bunch of years. They've since grown up and moved on, but that was back when they were in high school. So they lived in southern Alaska, and apparently pretty nice, but cold winters. But they were not in the far enough north where things were like what you see in the movies. Hello, JD Branch. Okay. I think I'm ready when you all are ready.
I believe
Wait, I
I'm
need to
ready.
open my audio recording.
Oh, that would be a good thing to do. I mean,
And
given
then I
that this
need.
is a podcast that we're planning to release in a feed.
Let's see. We're gonna test it just to make sure. Sounds okay.
Yeah, I should make sure that mine's work. Yeah, mine looks like I see waveforms going, so that's good.
That's good. And then I'm gonna go to the bathroom, then we'll start.
Okay. Uh, oh, I don't use Audacity, Matt. I haven't used that in a while. Because after the weird thing that they did with, I don't even remember what it was, but I've had enough bad experiences with Audacity. I don't use it anymore. That sounds like a game, Lepton. That sounds like a heck of a final boss.
Nice job, Lepton. The Russians can listen to your side of Squelch, yeah.
I'm not
All
worried
right.
about them listening to what I'm recording. I'm more worried about what other data it's siphoning off that I don't know about.
Yeah,
when you eat at McDonald's, you don't. When you work at McDonald's, you don't eat the hamburgers.
I probably would.
Yeah, I probably would too.
All right. I'm good if you both are good.
I'm good.
Edelweiss is muted and distracted.
Setting up now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, like there have been a bunch of places where, like, I'll eat most of the food items. There are a few things that I won't eat for various reasons, but anything that I wouldn't feel comfortable having someone else eat, then I just don't sell it. Like, technically, our theater sells coffee. I just have it permanently turned off. It is a K-cup machine that is rarely used, and like we clean it, and it's healthy, but it does not seem like a good value to me. And I will turn if someone really wants coffee, I will usually just throw a K-cup in and give it to them. But I'm not going to sell it or advertise that I have it or let people order it online. Just and if someone has a cup of Starbucks and they want to come in, I'll be like, sure. Just like I foresee the concern over the value proposition over what they pay for that cup of coffee versus what they get from me, so I'd rather just sidestep the issue entirely. As an example. But I have heard from former Wendy's employees that you should not eat the chili. That's what I have heard.
Yes, that I have heard loud and clear.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is a shame because I used to eat the chili and I enjoyed it, and I will not go back and eat it now because
I do not know the specifics and I haven't looked, but I have heard to not eat the chili.
I mean, basically, I think what it is that they have hamburgers on the grill all the time, so that they're ready for you when you are, and then if they're on there too long, then they throw them into a bucket, and then the meat that's in that bucket becomes the chili.
Okay.
It's basically burgers that have sat around for a while, and probably overcooked. I mean, it's not like they're chopping up rats and putting them in the chili, like something like that. But everyone loves the rats, but nobody wants to drink their milk.
I'm gonna press record now.
Was that Simpsons reference after you stopped watching?
I think it was, yes. I have not gotten that reference.
That was a Fat Tony quote.
Oh, it sounds like
after you stopped.
Does sound like Fat Tony. If it was past the first half of season 9, then yeah, I'm good. I'm out of it.
Yeah, I think it might have been.
All right. I'm recording. How about you two?
Oh, I am recording.
Yeah, I have to reopen Audacity.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a difference between good and not horrifying, like good is good. Don't want horrifying.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, there's a bunch of stuff in here. Edel, you're going to keep typing. It's fine. Just do what you do.
Yeah, I'm good. Recording.
Okay.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Starting the show in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Shadows hide you. I am listening. Our paths converge.
So good to see you.
Hail to you. Never lose hope.
Here for a chat.
I hear you. It has only begun. Fight on, friend.
Hello and welcome to episode 343 of Coin Conceit, a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the PvP side of the game more accessible to you. It is Thursday, May 12th in the evening. From Gadsden, New York, it's me, Ridiculous Hat. From Nomergano, Ohio, we've got Edelweiss.
Hello.
And from Northern Massachusetts, we have Kirby.
Wait, what?
Remember that tweet where they said that you sounded like it was like Kirby?
Oh yeah, that's true. I do. They did say I sound like Kirby. Hi.
See? It's
Yeah.
Poyo. Yeah. We have Wicked Good. And also from where you are, listeners, we have you. Thank you so much for the reviews. And then we've got some new patrons. Got a bunch of them. Mapash, Right or Z, Richard B, and another new producer, Lucky. Welcome back, Lucky. Thank you so much for your support of the show. Everyone else, thank you so much for the financial support. Those of you that leave reviews, really appreciate it. We're going to do another bonus episode soon on Battlegrounds. That's the next one in the docket because, I mean, I don't know about you two, but I've been playing a bunch of that, and it's fun. And we're gonna talk some BGs, so we read those reviews out on the bonus episodes. Live and Ladder. Edelweiss, you just streamed today. Why don't you start? Tell us what's going on.
Sure. So I have been finding my fun with Warrior recently, and I think probably Warrior and Demon Hunter players are maybe the only ones having fun right now. But it's been interesting to try out different kinds of Warrior. Our explanations today is going to be on Warrior. From the Depths has just been completely absurd. I don't know if it's holding the class together, but it definitely gives you some pretty gross high rolls. The number of times that I have gone from the Depths into turn 4 Nelly is probably too many. And yeah, after a bunch of sort of feeling lost, playing all kinds of different stuff, Warrior has just kind of allowed me to enjoy this meta. And there's a bunch of different approaches people are taking. There's sort of the standard quote unquote control list that has school teachers and can gain a pretty significant amount of armor. And then there's ones that people have built in order to specifically be able to beat that warrior while still having a shot against other things. So yeah, I'll talk more about all that later.
Yeah, it's From the Depths. Good card. Like, really good. Like, really, really good. Though I keep running into people that... This happened a few times to me. Even in top 1K. You just fire off the turn 1 Finley, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Why?
I don't know. I don't know.
Like, whenever I play a Finley without having played it From the Depths first, it feels like terrible.
It's a bad card. You wouldn't play it. Because the only reason to play it is From the Depths. Because then it's
Wait, are
one
you playing?
mana...
Are you playing Demon Hunter though?
Yes.
Yeah, so they probably don't have Shield Shatter. That's probably why they're doing it.
I guess.
Even then, I would probably trade something first if I have something to trade. Right? You want more cards in hand when you play Finley to dig deeper. So
Yeah.
Turn 1 is not where I would do it.
I mean, I would wait till the turn I needed to do it, I would think. Because, I mean,
Yeah.
if you find a Frozen Buckler, then you could still do it. I mean, even if you have a Frozen Buckler and not the Shatter, I guess the bad thing would be having the Shatter and not the Frozen Buckler. But,
Yeah, well, and if you wait, you can also end up in situations where you go, okay, I've got the Buckler, let me play Buckler, and then Finley, try and hit the Shatter. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons to hold it so you have more cards to dig deeper.
But I cannot think of any reason to fire it out there on 1, especially because the only good 1-drop is a 1/3, and your 1/3 is not going to stop my Slither Spear. Anyway, it seems bad. Seems like not the right thing to do. But Warrior seems good. From the Depths seems good. And Finley seems better when it's 1 mana gain, replace your hand and also gain 12 mana, better than 1 mana 1/3. Yeah. What have you been playing, Steve? What have you been up to?
Well, I had a bit of a roller coaster of a weekend because I was feeling like, I think I said on the show last week, I was feeling kind of lost. I played some Naga Mage on stream Friday. I think I played Naga Mage on stream Friday. And I was just kind of like stuck at Diamond 5, wasn't really getting anywhere. And then I had my THL match on Saturday evening and I 3-0'd. And that kind of served as a bit of a confidence booster for me because I felt like I was just kind of like stuck, but I was also kind of stuck in like Elo hell at Diamond 5, where you're just playing against a whole bunch of random stuff. I think Edel was talking about this last week, and I kind of needed to just get escape velocity to get out of that and start playing against real things to have kind of a chance. So I picked up Ramp Druid after that, and I guess I got a confidence boost because I went 10-0 with it after that, which I don't know how that happened because like I only ran to like 1 Demon Hunter the whole time. And it's like, that doesn't seem right. Like, and I beat the 1 Demon Hunter, but it just kind of seemed like it was variance in my favor because I was beating everything else. That I wanted to keep playing, but I had to go pick up my kids from a bat mitzvah that night. So I had to stop at like Diamond 2, and then I tried to pick it up the next day, and the Demon Hunters had apparently returned. And that went 50-50. And I kind of flailed there for a while. And then decided that if I was going to play something, I was going to play something that at least had a chance of beating Demon Hunter, because that seemed to be like the 10x Diamond 1 meta. So I picked up Hand Buff Paladin, and I went 8-1 with that. So that seemed pretty good. You know, I haven't had a whole lot of success with it since I got to Legend, but it doesn't matter. It just got me there. You know, turns out making big butts, and I forget what the name of the card is, the 3-drop that has lifesteal and deal damage equal to its attack.
Catacomb Guard.
Yeah, Catacomb Guard. That is real good against Demon Hunter. Like real good.
Yeah.
When you make like a 4-attack lifesteal minion that removes something, heals you 4, and then they don't have a way to get through it without actually trading into it, usually more than once. So that just kind of heals you up to close to full, and then that's just enough to carry you the rest of the way. That was real good. And I had Talon, which was just good as like just a Divine Shield taunt. Like it wasn't even like it would get you Varian, sure, but just like having a Divine Shield taunt that can't get glaive sometimes is just good enough, or at least like soaks an extra hit. So yeah, that felt pretty good. I've been playing more. I haven't really been playing that since I hit Legend. I've mostly just been playing like Control Warrior for the most part, and got into a mirror last night with someone who played Kazakhstan with Bran on board and did not realize apparently that the way that Kazakhstan works with Bran is that
no.
so they basically it replaces your deck twice.
If you put non-dragon minions in your deck, then the second trigger doesn't go through. So if people just
did. Yeah.
So they didn't pick minions.
No, they didn't do that. They didn't pick any minions. It went off twice, but they spent the first activation really carefully curating their deck, and then the second one started with the rope burning.
Oh no! Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So they got to pick like one card, and then the rest of it was just random nonsense. I almost lost that game because they ended up with Grimmer Patrons that they like banana splitted twice. So I just had, and I had to use my one brawl early, and yeah, that's a good point that Grey Lego says. Old Kazakhstan did that. New Kazakhstan doesn't care what's in your deck
because they reworked it.
anymore.
Because I forgot what Kazakhstan says because I haven't seen one in a while.
Yeah. So well, that's because you're not playing Warrior. You don't give them time to see it. But
hey, I don't give them time to see it either. Usually.
But yeah, so they had like a Grimmer Patron with like banana split. They almost beat me up, and then I at least was able to get my Kazakhstan down, and just barely like Wand of Disintegration the first one, got an Annoyo board in the way just long enough to find lethal before they could beat me up with it. It was a bit of a grind, but I looked at that like, oh, they just got a deck of garbage. This could actually work out for me.
Man.
Yeah. So that's a PSA.
I'm looking forward to learning a lot during Dexplanations and having very little to offer because this is a whole bunch of Control Warrior stuff. As for me, my ladder experience, gaining MMR in Battlegrounds, yeah! Though I will say, I also had some success with Hand Buff Paladin late last week. It feels like it was really, really underrated, like over the weekend, this past weekend. People have since caught up to it, I think. At least the decks that I've been facing, people are putting brawls back in their Control Warriors because over the weekend it felt like they just didn't have any, and that was just kind of silly. Yeah, I picked up it was originally the Mech Light Hand Buff Paladin on Vicious Syndicate that was in last week's report, and just on Saturday, just fired off a casual 12-0 with it, which I was not expecting at all, even a little bit. But I always had Smite the turn they cleared my board and were at 6 or some low number, so Smite always showed up right on time. And there's a bunch of really cool, powerful stuff going on in that deck, not just the 1-mana conditioning weapon, but Seafloor Savior on 2, still great. And sometimes you buff Seafloor Savior, and in turn 4 you have like 2 8/6 bubble robots, and Quest Hunters don't have a great answer for that. They just get hit in the face. So I've been enjoying that. I think Paladin's actually in a really interesting spot. I've been playing Paladin DH because those are my two classes that aren't at 1K, and they're both in the 9s. Paladin, I think, is like 6 games away. Demon Hunter's like 50. I might get there with Demon Hunter first just because I like the deck now. I just don't like both how powerful it is and what it restricts in the format, and also how miserable it is to play it against Control Warrior, even if I win like slightly less than half the time. I don't enjoy the feeling of that matchup. And so I would like if Demon Hunter was a little bit worse, so that the meta would be a little bit more favorable, and that playing it didn't make me feel somewhat evil. Because I'm tired of Drekthar. I want to put school teachers back in. I want a school teacher. I want a Felgorger. I want to consider maybe a Jace, maybe something like that. But as of right now, that's not the situation. So, like, again, I'm not off of the game right now. I'm not off of Constructed, but I will say I'll log in, I'll play a few matches, usually DH, sometimes Paladin to push the portraits. If I'm winning, then I stay in for a little longer. If I'm not, then I don't. But this week, since the patch on Tuesday, been having a lot of fun in BGs. I am an intermittent BGs enjoyer. Buddies, I played like for a couple of days, and then I was like, I am in way over my head, and I can't keep up with this. But, I would pop in every so often, have 1 or 2 games. Now I'm like queuing up a bunch of them on purpose, in sequence. And from what I can tell, Nagas are busted. But I am not at the MMR where people know what they're doing, because I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm seeing a lot of fun variety in games, and usually I'm going not Nagas because everybody else is going Nagas. And then that means that I get some decent boards, or sometimes I hit the player that successfully goes Nagas and I just die. But the things that are going on are fun, and I understand the appeal of buddies, and I think that there were some legitimate positives there, but I am having fun in the mode, and I think part of it is that mechanic isn't in right now.
Yeah,
So.
I discovered on Tuesday that my wife is a buddies enjoyer because I broke the news to her, and she was very upset that they were gone. So, but I it's funny that you say that Nagas are busted, because what I've been hearing from watching some of the BG's players as I follow on Twitter is that it's more of a support class, support tribe, kind of like Quilboar.
Bofer said that yesterday. I don't think you would hear the same thing from him today. It's we talked to Niha in our Discord. Is a high level BG's player that's really wired in. She's going to help us out with the bonus episode in a little bit here. And yesterday the belief was absolutely that Naga was a support class. I don't think that's the same tune today. I think people figured it out, and there are a lot of people that are talking about, hey, can we nerf them before Lobby Legends in 2 days or no? And we just see who hits when they force Nagas. Slissa tweeted that today. So I trust Slissa.
Okay, yeah, because I think it was Slissa that I saw that was saying that yesterday. So if she's changed her tune, then I will defer to her, because I mean I could see that being like a feeling just because of like how contested they are, that it's so hard to get like a comp together, and maybe the comp that they figured out is easier to pull off, but like it can be pretty hard to pull together a comp because everybody is contesting it. Like the only times that I've successfully gotten Nagas to go off is when I was either Queen Azara or Tess. Azara because she's, she gives you discover a Naga, and Tess because you get to discover everybody else's Nagas. So that's the only time that I've really been able to get to go off. If I had to like try to find them honestly, it felt like I was generally like top 8ing those lobbies if I was trying to force Nagas.
Yeah. It seems like that there's just the BG's players call it the launch buff. Pretty much every time out of the gate, the new thing is really powerful, and it might be an overcorrection from Pirates, which was the last time a tribe launched that it wasn't very good. And I don't think this is quite on the level of Elementals or Quilboar, or at least it's harder to play with them. So I don't think we're going to deal with quite the same thing at all MMRs, but it does seem like that they need to be pulled back a good bit. And there's some interactions as well that are counterintuitive. In particular, there are a couple different Nagas that care about when you play something. And there's a specific one, Stormscale Siren, that all of your Spellcraft minions cast their Spellcraft things on themselves at the end of your recruit phase. It triggers all of the when you play something things.
Yeah, that's Yahtzee right there. Yeah.
It's intended, but also different from how it works in every other Hearthstone card, and really powerful. So I don't know if that's going to stay the way it is or what the plan is, but it is super weird because the devs called it out before the patch came out saying this is intended, but it's different from how all of this stuff has always worked.
Yeah. And it's noticeable when it goes off, because that's the one that gives that's the tier 6 one that gives 4 Naga +1/+1 or 4, I don't know if it's 4 Naga or 4 minions +1/+1 every time you cast a spell.
For
and then
Naga.
yeah, and then they're all casting themselves, and it just kind of like you just see your stats go up like a pinball machine, like
Yeah.
at the end of the turn.
It's powerful. So they'll pull it back. I'm enjoying it, but I'm also not a competitive BGs player. I know that a lot of people are saying these cards are cool. They're just a little too strong. We'll see how long it takes them for them to adjust it, but that's what I'm mostly doing right now. Like standard is, it's just kind of the story remains the same. I can find fun with it, but I'm not pushing it too hard right now, and I wouldn't blame anyone that's burnt out on it. So we'll see. Hoping for balance changes in. Realistically, we're probably looking at Tuesday the 24th. It's usually a patch every 2 weeks or so. And that's the next time I would expect they'll be able to do a patch. Maybe it's sooner, but I'm not holding my breath for it. We'll see. Maybe they get it done by the end of next week.
Yeah, they don't. There's no Masters Tour or anything coming up anytime soon, so there's not anything that's like pushing them to get it out ahead of some competitive deadline or anything like that. So they'll probably just get it out when they need to. And they do have BGs there as kind of the shiny thing to say, okay, well, if you're not, you can still play something fun. Let's go. If you're not having fun in standard, go play BGs. It's there's enough people that are, I'm sure, picking it up again to see either to play with the new shiny tribe or even just like buddies are gone, ding dong, the witch is dead, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yep. That's also why I think they have Heroic Brawliseum as the brawl next week. We'll talk about that when we get into the news, which is now.
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop.
Hey, by the way, remember that thing we talked about with the new patch and the BG stuff and the Nagas? That's the thing. 23.2 came out on May 10th. There was a bunch of stuff in here, and also there were a bunch of unpleasant bugs that we'll talk about. Don't worry, we'll get to them. But there were a bunch of things they fixed and added and all that. So the most important thing is the BG's update. We talked about the Naga changes last week, but a whole new tribe and a bunch of new everything is going on. There was also this really, really rad developer insights post about Battlegrounds balance. It was super cool. From John McIntyre, the current lead designer of Hearthstone Battlegrounds. Let me get this up on the screen here. Okay, so there's an inclusion here of both like MMR distribution, hero performance. So fun fact, before the reset, if you were at 5700 MMR, you were in the top half of all players. If you were at 6500, you were in the top quarter of all players. So that means 25% of players are between 5700 and 6500, pretty crazy. And then the next 500 ranks, if you're at 7k MMR, you're in the top 10%. So that 500 MMR range from 6500 to 7000 has 15% of players. And then from 7000 to 8300, at 8300 you were the top 1% of BGs in the last patch. Pretty impressive. Pretty cool. That's like BG's Legend last season was 8300-ish. And you look at the top 10 performing heroes, there's actually this really cool list of top 10 performing heroes for all players versus top 10 heroes for top 1%. And I think there are 0 that overlap. Just Flurgle. Flurgle is the only overlap. So, interesting to note how different the experience is when balancing for all players versus balancing for the very highest level. And there's a lot of cool information here, a lot of context that's provided. Shutterwalk was used as a case study in balance, where Shutterwalk, the original one, where it was a 1-mana token or a 1/1 token that repeated all battle cries you played this game, people used it for stats. I used it mid-game with Bran or whatever just to get a bunch of Screwjank clunkers and menagerie mugs and whatever, and they had a bunch of stats. At the very, very high level, it ended up being an early econ strat with tokens. Most of Ladder never did that. But high-level Ladder just used Shutterwalk to get a bunch of triples really, really early. This shows how different the design context and the challenges the team faces. So I really like this post. Encourage John to do these more often because it's cool to see how they think about things and talk about what their approach is when they look at balance. So yeah.
Yeah, more like this, please.
In addition to that, a lot of Mercenaries updates. I'm not going to go ability by ability with either the new hero or the reworks, but Vanessa, Leroy are all in packs now. There's a new fatigue system. After 10 turns of combat, all characters take double damage, which means critical hits are now quadruple damage. This is to avoid Anduin mirrors, among other things. Sinestra mirrors, I guess. I don't know. I haven't played much Mercs lately, but they also updated the refresh keyword. Instead of just making a cooldown finish, it now refreshes a number. So if something has a cooldown of 10, and then you want to refresh 5, you take 5 off of that number. Whereas before, if something had a cooldown of 100, refreshing it would just make it happen right away. Now they have granular control there, so they can make higher cooldown abilities and cool refresh interactions. Not surprised they changed this. And finally, completing all bounties in the Winter Spring zone now unlocks the first bounty in every subsequent zone. I imagine this was for events, whereas if you hadn't played in a while and you had to get to whatever the last bounty is, like Darkshore now, if you had to do some Darkshore stuff, you had to do all of the other content ahead of it, and that just meant you just didn't do it. At least that was my experience. I just didn't do it. Thoughts on any of this, Edel?
Yeah, it's all pretty cool. A lot of the changes that they've made with refresh things, upgrading the language, are functionally the same for now, but it gives them more flexibility going forward, as you say, with ways that they can design around refresh and potentially longer cooldowns on skills. I haven't gotten to try N'Zoth yet because lots of stuff needs to happen, right? You go through and complete a bunch of things to actually get it, but yeah, it's sort of weird having just like one new merc for this event. I'm like sitting on a gifted get a random legendary bundle, and I'm like, oh, I shouldn't use it on this because you just get the N'Zoth at the end of the event. So we're just waiting for, I guess, the next expansion to mercs to use that.
Yep,
But
and we know that's coming in 0.6 as well, because they changed the cadence to the 0.6 patch, which should be a month after the mini set, so that's July-ish, because we should expect the mini set either could be the 7th or 9th of June, could even be as late as the 14th, but somewhere in that ballpark. And then the 0.6 patch will likely be either Tuesday the 5th or Tuesday the 12th of July, a month before the next expansion. That's when we should have a ton of merc stuff in a couple months. So that's what we're waiting for. But yeah, one new merc along with an event is different and just kind of weird. It just looks like, oh yeah, we'll throw a merc in, whatever, who cares?
Yeah, I mean it's cool to have another event thing. I haven't started this one yet, but I'm sure I'll get to it soon. Like, I'm not gonna let the event pass by. And they keep just making more and more good changes. The one where you can just sort of do a bunch of tasks was great, because then I could have days where it's just like, you know what, I'm just gonna chill, do some mercs while I watch some TV, zone out. Those are great because you can just do a bunch of tasks that day, and it just goes one to the next to the next to the next. And so yeah,
nice.
it's a lot easier to access, I think.
Yep. So, by the way, N'Zoth is in the game now. You get it through by doing the task chain. They reworked Blink Fox, because Blink Fox used to be refresh all their abilities. Now it's refresh 5. And they also buffed some other stuff because Blink Fox technically got worse, even though the mercs that we have currently don't have cooldowns in excess of 5 that I can think of. This is design space they're likely going to explore in the future, or are exploring right now, and that's why they had to change the mechanic. In addition, they added some spell schools, some other stuff, and added the new Darkshore zone, which is unlocked. At least the first area is unlocked if you finished Winter Spring, so go have fun, do that. There was a significant and substantial bug on day 1 where there was a particular mercenaries fight that would lock your account in a disconnect resuming game loop for hours. It was very unfortunate. They were able to hotfix it that same night, but it was, we're talking, I think, like 6-7 hours, something like that. It was extensive. So mercenaries players, understand their frustration. I know Old Guard in particular was particularly peeved because he had to make content and just his account is just locked. So they fixed it, and there are still a couple other known issues with mercs that we're going to talk through here. But it was unfortunate that it's another mercs bounty that kind of locks accounts out, and they had to fix it on their end. Hopefully they figure it out for future patches so it doesn't happen again. All right, the Heroic Brawliseum is back. We mentioned that briefly. For those of you that don't know the Heroic Brawliseum, you spend 1,000 gold to play Hearthstone. Constructed, not arena. And there are prizes, including if you get 12 total wins, it's like 3 golden legendaries and some crazy number of packs and a bunch of dust. Like, it's a lot. But it's 1,000 gold to enter. This is air quotes tournament mode. This is kind of an asynchronous Hearthstone tournament. So this is for the people that don't want to play BGs. This is for you. This is for highly engaged players that want to spend some money and have fun. If you have played these before, then you know how they feel. It really stretches different muscles. You lock in one deck. After 3 losses, you are out. You are matched based on your record. I don't know where the break-even point is in terms of profit, but I would guess it's somewhere in the 5 or 6 wins to get roughly your gold back. If you have a bunch of gold and you want to burn through it, this is a good way to do it. If you just want to play Constructed and aren't worried about the tournament environment, I probably wouldn't do it. I usually don't. But some people live for this stuff.
Yeah. Do not do it for the rewards.
Correct.
That is my advice to you. You want to do it for the experience. It's a unique thing that if you have the means, I think it's worth trying once. Mainly because it's the only time you can play competitively against people of a wide range of skill and figure out where you actually are. It can be kind of, when you're just playing ladder, right? Outside of playing tournaments, obviously, but even tournaments are generally like full-on tryhards for the most part. But like, you know, when you're playing ladder, you're always playing against people who are like close to you in skill level. So it feels like you're not really progressing. You know, or it can feel that way, right? If you're not climbing, this will kind of level set you as far as seeing a wider range of skill and seeing where you fall there. And for that reason, I really enjoy it because I like being able to kind of just test myself in an uncapped opponent pool. But I would expect you're going to be spending that gold for the experience, right? So, like, if you can afford to lose the gold or you can afford to pay for the ticket, I think you can pay real money even if you want to. You know, go for it. Absolutely. Try it at least once. If you are worried, should I save this gold for the mini set or something else because I'm still opening packs? Or should I use this gold to open packs? Save your gold to open packs. Don't spend it here. It is basically like, this is like when you go to Vegas and you go with a budget and you expect to lose it all. That's basically how you want to treat Heroic Brawliseum.
Yeah. It's 1,000 gold or $10 US. So you have to ask yourself, is this really worth... Is 3 Heroic Brawls really worth a Diamond Drekthar? That's what you have to ask yourself.
Absolutely. I'm so excited.
Yes. And here we have the other side of the coin. Edelweiss.
Incidentally, I think when I did best was actually before I was a more established player. I must have just like high rolled out of my mind. I don't remember. It was forever ago. But I love these.
Yeah, I do too.
I've gotten a 12 wins before. It's the best feeling ever. 3 golden legendaries, 50 packs. It's so much stuff. But it's players like me that are out there hunting. And there are better players than me. So buyer beware, I suppose.
Yeah.
I'll probably be out there playing Warrior because I've just been jamming so much Warrior, and it's the thing that I feel like has the best chance against everything, but I'm sure there'll be a bunch of Demon Hunters as well.
Yeah.
I
mean, I
would
think
expect
like
there will
pretty
be
much
Demon
every
Hunters.
standard. Yeah, I think like every standard streamer is probably going to be playing that instead of ladder. And so, you know, that's the kind of play. And you don't know who you're going to get matched up against. It just could be anybody who just cues in at that point. You could play against somebody who just started who just has money to burn, you could end up going against like one of the top players in the world. You don't know, and that's what's kind of cool about it if you're trying to see like level set your skill. You know.
Yep. You see tweets from people like Lamby Series who says this is the only brawl I play all year. The super high level players, they love this stuff. They run it back over and over again. They will often get multiple 12-win runs. You get a bunch of cool deck lists out of these because people post their 12-win deck list. And this is really like, it is absolutely a tournament equivalent in the client. You pay an entry fee, you get matched by your record, and if you win, you get a bunch of stuff. It is absolutely a tournament equivalent. And so this was, Broad has said in the past, this was their attempt at a concept, a prototype of an in-client tournament mode, and that's why the tournament players like them. Because you get to spend money and then compete, and then potentially win and get a big payout. Yeah, 12 wins, 50 packs, 1,100 dust, 1,100 gold, and 3 golden legendaries. Pretty good deal. Don't play for that. Play because you want to play in a tournament because you have the gold or the money to spend.
Yeah, it's interesting, the sort of weird psychology stuff at play as well, because for me, like, I'm creeping up on that top 500-ish range on ladder, and it gives me the shakes, and I hate it because then I feel like I can't play whatever I want. But Brawliseum, I just go. Like, it slides right off me if I take an 03 or something, right? I'm just like, that's tournaments. And then I go and again adapt something, like maybe we can figure out this will target things better. So very, very excited for Heroic Brawliseum. It's been so long. I think it's been years, actual years.
Yeah, it was Joe Mag was still there, and I think that like something they tried to do like a wild one, or they tried to do something that was like not straight standard, and it broke, and they had to retire it early, and then they just have not tried since then. I think this is a result of Matt London taking over modes. That it doesn't seem like a coincidence that, you know, we've seen Matt London take over modes and kind of breathe new life into some of the modes that have been not getting as much love. And this is something that's, I mean, I don't know that it's universally loved, because I expect that it's probably for a very small part of the player base, because for a lot of players who just want to go into Tavern Brawl to get their weekly pack, this is not that. Because they're going to actually miss out on a pack and they may not like it as much. But this is something that has been generally like one of the most positively received in like the engaged player base that I can remember. And it's going to be a lot of fun to see it. And it's always like gets a lot of streaming attention whenever it happens.
Yeah, Heroic Brawliseums have been a while. The one you're thinking of, Steve, that was delayed was a wild one. That was a regular Brawliseum,
Oh, that's regular?
not a heroic
Okay.
Brawliseum. Regular Brawliseums were close to arena. It was like 150 gold or something to enter, and the prizes were way, way lower. And, you know, like, people still play them, but it's not the same as the heroic one, where it's really, like, the stakes are significant. So the last heroic Brawliseum that I can find, I believe, was May of 2017, which was wild. That's the last one that I can find here. I don't have a complete date, but my understanding is Heroic Brawliseum was 2017.
There had to have been one after that, because I remember streaming one, and I didn't start streaming until 2018.
Let me see.
Like, not seriously. So there had to have been one after that. I think that sounds, I mean, that I believe that it happened back then, but there had to have been some.
Oh no,
in,
there
like,
was
2018.
one in September 2020. So the most recent was September 2020. There was one in May 2017, the wild one, and then this is September 2020 was the last one. So yeah, it's been still a year and a half-ish. Still pretty good. So yeah, it's there are going to be people that play a lot of these. There are going to be people that ignore it, but there are plenty of people that I think ignore the Tavern Brawl already. So I think it is a net positive to do every so often, and it makes a ton of sense that this is targeted the week after the BG's patch comes out, and probably before standard balance changes. Makes a lot of sense of, hey, that's a good time for people that still really want to play standard, give them some stakes. So here we are.
It's kind of like the McRib of Hearthstone, right? Like, they leave it away for so long. Yeah. It's like the McRib is back. The Heroic Brawliseum is back, you know?
I had a McRib the last time they were around. I'll probably forget by the next time they come back and order one again. It was fine.
Yeah.
It was okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds about right.
I didn't remember the sauce being so sweet. Anyways, so there's a new features blog because they added a crap ton of features to the game. Now, what is a feature, you might be asking? Well, let me tell you. Upgrade to Golden. That's a feature. It's a thing that you do in the client but not in a game that makes stuff better. So upgrade to Golden. If you have a normal epic, costs 400 dust to craft. A golden epic costs 1600 dust to craft. In the past, you'd have to dust your amalgam at the deep, get your 100 dust back, then spend 1600 to make a golden one. 1500, whatever. Instead, you go and you open your normal version, you click upgrade. And it costs 1200 dust. It costs just the difference from the full dust value of the card. If you have a normal legendary, you want to upgrade it to golden, 1600. Just the difference. So, nice UI, easy to use. You click the button, you get the golden. Cool. I'm about it. I upgraded my amalgams to the deep because those should be golden because they discover other cards and they're going to be in standard for a while. So I upgraded mine. And I might actually have to go back and dust some of my old wild cards that I was holding onto because I forgot about them. I still have a golden hack the system. I don't know why. That's for anyone that doesn't know what hack the system is, which is anyone that
I know
either.
what hack the system
Oh,
is.
I know. You are the one person that I knew would know the text of that card. For anyone that either wasn't playing back in Uldum or was playing back in Uldum, I will explain it. It's the Warrior Uldum quest that changes your hero power after, I think it's play X weapons? Something like that. To your hero power.
I think is it attack with X weapons? It might be.
I know that the hero power was it would make a 4/3 and it would refresh whenever you attacked.
Yeah.
Correct. And the
I
quest.
think you might have had to
yeah.
attack with your hero.
Attack
X
5 times with your hero. Demon Hunter didn't exist back then, so they wanted to reward attacking. They had to just figure it out. And this was not a sufficient reward, so I still have it. So I might go and dust that so I can upgrade some goldens. It's just nice, and it also means if you were one of the people with a lot of dust that you felt like you had to craft golden legendaries before you open your packs because you didn't want to open in regular, that entire circumstance is just gone now because it is the exact same cost to open it in regular and upgrade it that it is to craft it. Exactly the same. So you don't have to worry about min-maxing the system. Just open your packs and then upgrade at the end.
Yeah, I'm one of those people because I am a deranged human being who crafts priest legendaries in golden. So, and I am looking forward to not having to do all those mental gymnastics about what do I do when, and then end up getting screwed on the bundle legendaries that's non-golden anyway. So, yeah, this is it. I mean, and they could have just made it, what you would have had to cost, what it would have cost to dust the thing, and then craft the new thing. But they did make a difference, which is, I mean, that's a, because there are some discussions again around, Diamond Threkthar, and they're not going to nerf it because whatever, that we're not going to get into. But like, this is not a decision that you make if you're trying to maximize profit in the short term, right? Like, this is like, obviously you could do this in a way that would, make you pay exactly what you pay now, and they're actually making a net positive to make it feel better to do that, which is great.
I'm still working on my project of getting all the collection achievements for the wild sets. So once I'm done with that, then maybe I'll worry about upgrading to full golden decks.
If you need to borrow a hack the system, I know a guy.
I think I also had regular and golden or something.
Of course you did.
Of course. In addition, deck code sharing in client chat is now not terrible. In fact, it is quite the opposite. When you go to paste it, it gives you a pop-up that says, hey, would you like to share this deck? And then you just get a clickable thing in the chat, and then when you click it, then you get the deck. You just click it and click to copy. It doesn't do a giant cut-off text string that you can't read. It just figures out, hey, if someone's pasting this in chat, they probably want the other person to be able to import it and play it, so let's just do that. So they did that. It's nice. It's a nice thing. And then you can favorite multiple card backs. So you can just go into a deck, pick multiple favorites, and then if you pick random, It'll pick only from your favorite selected card backs. By the way, underneath where it says random, there is a checkbox that says favorites only. If you want true random again, and not just do the favorites, do not drag every card back to favorites in your entire collection. Just uncheck the box and go on with your day. Want to give a shout out to Nate Wolf TCG over on the Born to Be Wild podcast, good friend of ours. And he did a lot of clicking and dragging so that his sacrifice would not be in vain. I'd like to make sure that everyone is aware there is a checkbox you can uncheck. It's Nate suffered so you don't have to. Nate, we thank you for your sacrifice. Also, go listen to the Born to Be Wild podcast. It's a great show. So yeah, you can just, instead of just having either every card back or one card back, you get to pick and choose what you want to do. It's pretty rad. And there's a new feature that was added that was actually not on the features blog, because it's not from the features team, it's from the client team. And this has been a long time coming. Those of you old school players, especially those who have tried to play Battlegrounds before and have been in the Coin Discord and have talked to me about it, you always were able to change the frame rate that Hearthstone ran at. It defaulted to 30, but if you went into, and this explanation is technical on purpose because you don't have to know it anymore. If you went into the local app data folder and went into Blizzard and then Hearthstone, found the options.txt file and put in the target frame rate parameter, you could change the frame rate of your game. Now, this didn't feel like something that most people should be doing, even though, like, it's totally fine. The game could run at higher frame rates, and you could do this on mobile too. But the thing I just said should seem a little spooky because it's strange that you have to go dig into a hidden app data folder for an options file in text to change your frame rate. Well, the team agrees. They put an option in the menu. Just says low or high, or if you're on some devices, it can be low, medium, or high. Those are high refresh rate devices. Medium is 60 FPS. Low is 30-ish. High is usually the peak value that your monitor can do on iPhones or whatever. A lot of them it's 120. If you previously had something set in your options file like me, it doesn't mess with that at all. It leaves what you had before. There are a couple issues here. If you were on an iPhone 13 Pro or a couple other devices, the high option will instead trigger the language selection drop-down beneath the button, and you cannot actually pick high. They know they're working on it. But you can't actually pick that right now. Secondly, it defaults to low. So if you downloaded the patch and said, wow, this game runs like crap now, go into the options menu. They're aware of that too, and they are going to make the default more reasonable for most devices out there. But yeah, surprise feature, because not from the features team, it's from the client team. So that's why it wasn't in the features blog, but just be aware. And for those of you that have not played high frame rate Hearthstone before, welcome to the future. It's nice here. It's just so much better. But your battery life will take a hit, but it's so worth it.
You can just buy another battery.
Well, theoretically, if you're on mobile.
Just get a new phone. Don't you guys have new phones? You know.
I do. They use more battery.
Clearly, they don't, because the iPhone 13 is what slipped through this testing.
Ironically, Celestalon has one of those. So he also personally noticed the issue, but he was able to get the ticket log quickly. I'm sure it'll be patched soon.
Yeah, the only game that I have gone into the files for are games where it's part of the game. So I guess that's Inscription and Doki Doki Literature Club. Actually, I think Inscription has you do that.
Kind of, sort of, not really. It's you pick a file during a
Not the same
particular
way.
fight. Yes, it's not the same. But yeah, the important thing here is that you don't have to know any of the things I said in order for the game to run smoothly. So just go to the menu. Probably just set it to high unless you have a good reason not to.
Yeah. And I don't even know. Could you even do that on iPhones before? I mean, you
Yes.
probably needed like a third party tool to
I
go
don't know
and
how.
dig into
You
no?
You needed iTunes. It was stored as data for the Hearthstone application. So if you use the iTunes app, then you could browse the file stored in your phone. You would go find the options folder, pull it off, sync it to your desktop, edit it there, and then sync it back. I know I've done this on multiple iOS devices.
Can I tell you as an iPhone owner how terrifying that sounds? That's like a horror movie, what you just described.
You don't have to do it anymore. It's fine. It worked before, but you're safe now. And I understand using the iTunes application was something that was kind of a sketchy proposition in 2009, and now here we are in the modern
It doesn't even
world.
exist anymore.
We
on
don't
PC, it
talk
sure does.
about
exist.
iTunes, no.
On PC, it does still exist.
Yeah, but not on Macs. It doesn't.
I'll trust you. Either way, you don't have to know this. You don't have to do this. It's fine.
Yeah.
They fixed it so that all
It
the
can't
things I
hurt
said
you
are
anymore.
anachronisms. It's back in my day, we had to edit text files to make the game run good. Anyways, they fixed some bugs too, kinda. A lot of bug fixes. The Nelly bug. Remember how they said that was fixed in this patch? Possibly not accurate. And by possibly, I mean it is not fixed. It's not broken for everybody, all the time. People have wildly different experiences. I played a bunch of games with and against Nellies. I have not been disconnected once. Ike tweeted that he played against it 6 times on iPad and got disconnected all 6 times. I don't know. But it's not completely fixed, so just be aware of that. If you see a Nelly and you don't see all 3 Discover options, probably just restart the client. Probably just do it right away. There are some other weirdo bugs. I think emergency maneuvers. I think Steve. I think you brought this up.
Yeah, that was one that I clipped. Yeah, because there was a situation where I had silenced my opponent's treasure guard and then killed it, and improved emergency maneuvers was up, and improved emergency maneuvers summons 2 dormant copies, and 1 copy came back silenced and 1 copy came back unsilenced, which was extremely. I lost almost my entire next turn trying to figure out what the hell just happened. Yeah, so that's fixed. Hopefully, I haven't seen it happen again. That's kind of a weird scenario, but I managed to trigger it.
Pretty niche, as well as the pretty niche situation where if seat guidance cost 2, 3, or 4, and when you played it, it would trigger its own quest phase. This is funny. I didn't know about that.
I didn't know about that either. I played a lot of games of Quest Priest. I don't even know. I guess you would have to toss the quest and then draw it when like a Farwatch post is up. Like
you play Cult Neophyte's not in standard anymore. Yeah. So if you get frostbitten and you play it on 3, there's your proc. Not anymore. Very strange. And some other, like, just all of this is layering stuff that they fixed. Cloaked Huntress versus Dunbalder Bunker. They were costing 1 and not 0. Swift Scale Trickster was implemented to subtract the cost of the spell from the spell, not set it to 0. So, like, if you drew a 9-mana spell, it would get -9. Then if you were frostbitten or whatever, then you wouldn't be able to cast it for free. They fixed that. Some other stuff. Like a raid boss Onyxia not glowing the first turn that you played her, she should glow now. So achievements that rewards track experience, they look really nice now in the menu. They show you exactly how much experience you're going to gain. Legendary quests, if you are the kind of person that saves all your legendary quests because you don't want to do them, Racy and Pizza, I'm talking to you. All those quests that give you packs for playing certain modes or whatever, they expire now. They don't just stay in your log forever. They go away. You have until May 24th to do them if you have any legendary quests left. If you have a bunch that say do a duels run or play and win 3 bounties, I promise it's not that much time. Just get your free stuff. It's not a big deal. Just go get them. But if you don't want to do that, they're going to go away. So either do them or clear them because the game's going to do it for you. And finally, the biggest change for my personal quality of life in this entire patch. External iPad hardware keyboards now work in the chat. Let's go. Let's do it. It's been years where the external iPad keyboard would prevent the software keyboard from popping up, but you could not actually type back. Whenever anyone messaged me in chat, I would take out my phone and open the Battle.net app to message them back.
Like an animal.
It's like editing an options file. What year is it? So we are dragging the game, kicking and screaming into the 2022 universe. There are frame rate selectors and your keyboard works. The future is here and it is marvelous.
Don't you guys have laptops?
The battery dies so fast. The iPad, the battery lasts
How
forever.
do you keep it plugged in?
But then I can't be on my couch, which doesn't have outlets attached to it.
You need to get a couch with outlets in it.
Okay, it's all right. That's our next Patreon stretch goal. We'll figure it out.
Branded power banks? Is that...
Yeah, now we're talking.
The iPad's nice. I like the iPad. The only thing
Charge
was that I
concede.
couldn't...
There we go. We're doing it.
I just wanted to use my iPad. I like my iPad. Now I can use it, and when someone says GLHF, I can type it back. I can do it. So, yeah, happy about that. There are some other things that are kind of buggy, so we'll get to that. But first, we have to talk about things that are kind of fishy, because the shop has been updated. So first of all, the gold mini sets were very popular for both Barons and for modern sets. So they added the gold mini sets for Barons and Stormwind. So if you want to go buy those in golden, you can. Have fun. But also, they added the weirdest trio of hero skins that I have ever seen, and man, do I love them so much. So first, Steve, you want to talk about Sir Finley Murgleton? Yes, you do.
Oh god, I'm so happy. I only wish he was a priest portrait, but I'll take paladin. But I like Sir Finley was like, because I started playing in like Blackrock, and then like so League of Explorers like the first big reveal that I remember, and like like I liked the game, but Sir Finley was like the reason I fell in love with the game, like a talking Murloc, and I have wanted for the longest time just a Sir Finley portrait, and now I have it, and I do not think that I am going to change that out for a long time. It is exactly what you would expect. The only thing that I don't like is he doesn't say crumpets like he does in duels, but I'll live with that. But he is delightful, and I could not be happier.
Yep. It's great. So, there are a couple other heroes none of us were expecting. And I didn't have the time to get the sound bites this week, but rest assured they are coming. First of all, we have Jaina Proudmurgle. In case you are wondering, who is Jaina Proudmurgle? It sounds like if Jaina was a Murloc. Yes! That's what it is. It is Jaina, but a Murloc. I don't know who came up with this idea. I don't know if they're okay, but I'm grateful for them.
Her threat is now, my Murlocs will tear you apart.
It's just...
We needed this when Murloc Mage was actually a thing with Alaneth.
Was it
First of
actually
all-
a thing?
First of all,
was.
no, it wasn't. Absolutely not. Second of all, we need this always. This should have been the base version of the game. Should have shipped this way. The alternate art can be actual Jaina. And then the one that I had to buy instantly, Murgillidan, because they absolutely got Liam Gallagher to voice it. Instead of saying evil draws close, he says seafood draws close. Instead of saying a blunder for oops, he says a flounder. When he attacks, he doesn't say for vengeance. He says for fingeance. Can I buy it again? I bought it once. Can I buy it a second time?
There's something like, doesn't he also like the threat, like you're gonna have to see the sturgeon or something like that? Like,
Yes.
yeah,
Liam O'Brien,
It
not
is-
Liam
it
Gallagher.
is
I said the wrong
amazing.
person.
yeah. Liam Gallagher is like the guy from Oasis, I think.
Yes.
See, I am much more like into the visuals, so for me these aren't as special. I just like, I don't know, the Jaina and the Illidan just kind of look really gross to me. I may end up picking up the Jaina one just because I want to. I can't have all of the portraits, but I'm closest to having all of the mage ones, and so that's like achievable in terms of my weird collection wishes. But for me, the hero power animation is like what makes a portrait great for me. So the paladin one was a snap buy because it actually gives you a new animation. Any portraits that have special animations for them, I'm very big on.
Yeah. I'm big into puns, so I bought this.
Yeah, me
It's-
too. I don't
I
even
never hear
like
them.
playing Demon Hunter, and I bought it. I insta bought it, and I don't.
Yep.
I do not regret my decision.
And there are a couple other that have been data mined, or not even data mined. They're in the collection. You just can't buy them yet. Guff Murder Totem, I believe. So it's a Murloc Guff, which I can just like, I'll send them a check now so I can get it the second it goes live. And then the other one is Murgnaros, the shaman hero, Murloc Ragnaros.
Yes.
So, whoever's in the business department, well done. You got me. Square in the bullseye.
I did not expect to spend $25 on Tuesday, but I sure did.
But here we are.
And I regret nothing.
It's, by the way, Blizzard, if you want to find someone that will properly sell your giveaway bundles, if you send me a Murloc Illidan giveaway bundle code or 2 to give away, yes, I will have a contest that requires your best dad joke, your best pun. I will do that. You want me to do that. Send me the codes. We'll talk. We'll figure it out.
We could just do a whole bonus episode where we just judge them. It would be glorious.
Oh, man. This sounds like, yeah, this is... We have a plan. Blizzard, come at us. So, unfortunately, this is not where the news ends, because we've got a lengthy known issues post. We already talked about the Mercenaries lockout thing. Really unfortunate, but they fixed it. But the first day was... If you were a Mercenaries player that was locked out of your account for 8 hours in the first day, I do not blame you for being upset. I would be upset too. There was also a weirdo bug for... Sometimes it would say, your account needs to be updated. They have since fixed this, but it was a weird thing that I'd never seen before. There were allegations that reinstalling Hearthstone fixed it. For some people it did, for some people it didn't. There were differences between which servers people could play on. Some people fixed it by deleting their Hearthstone cache folder. Again, in an arcane Windows directory, they fixed it, so I'm not going to tell you what it is. Don't worry about it. There were some people that couldn't get in on desktop, but then they logged in once on mobile. That apparently was enough to update the account, then desktop worked again. Really strange. They put out a tiny patch in all the app stores and on PC today that fixed the issue completely, but definitely a little atypical. Informally, this is not in the known issues post, but I know that there have been reports of a lot of lag, in particular in Battlegrounds. I think that is likely due to server load, but it is possible that something changed. I did notice something different, and Edel, maybe you can speak to this. When I trade Blacksmithing Hammer, it pauses in the deck, and I don't remember it doing it before. You trade, it leaves your hand, then it upgrades in the deck and makes the ka-ching sound, and it waits there for a second, then comes back to hand.
Just play better cards in your deck. You won't have this
I haven't
problem.
experienced that.
Yeah, maybe it was just me. Maybe it was just that day. I remember it very distinctly, but also, yes, I did stop playing Warrior, and the problem fixed itself. There are a bunch of other things going on. The Mercenaries N'Zoth event timer shows the event ends in 1 hour. It obviously didn't. That was a text bug. There is also another minor text bug. If you were looking at the normal version of a card, you have one normal, one golden. The text says create a new golden or upgrade a normal. It actually means create a new normal. It'll spend the right amount of dust. It says create a new golden when you're crafting a normal copy. So just pay close attention to what that says. Won't come up too much, but something that they will fix in text. And what else? What else do we have here? So, Call of the Grave. The second effect is not activating after the patch. If you discover a minion with mana for the death rattle doesn't go off. If you 9 lives, the death rattle does not go off. You get the minion, but you don't get the death rattle.
Just one more time, the priest is being persecuted.
And 9 lives players. Shout out to Dragonbird in our Discord. I don't think that the Hearthstone team was expecting a bug report about 9 lives within an hour of a patch launching, but we have a very dedicated community over in the Coin Conceit Discord that finds all sorts of stuff, so we pass that along. They will fix it. The Mida bounty in Mercenaries, people couldn't enter it even after they fixed the other stuff. It happens when you beat the previous bounty on Heroic, but not Normal. If you beat it on Normal, then you will be able to get in. They're working on it. There's the frame rate drop-down issue. If you have Rexar Mercenaries portraits, some of those are bizarrely locked out for some reason. You'll get them back if you had them before, but it's strange. There are still some disconnect things. Battlegrounds ratings and friend lobbies don't update correctly. If you had a random card back equipped prior to the patch, there is a small group of players that are kind of locked out, or maybe locked out. They have difficulty playing the game because it's trying to equip a card back that no longer exists. I would guess that these were probably players that rolled the actual wooden random card back in their last game before the patch, because that card back doesn't exist anymore. So those players get playful sprites. They're working on that in the server-side hotfix. And Mercenaries N'Zoth Event 6 is not progressing properly. Not all death rattles are being counted. That hotfix should come soon. Whew. This patch is a little messy, not gonna lie. Not to mention that both yesterday and today, there were DDoSs. So yesterday, there was like an hour where all of Battle.net was down. Today, it was much shorter, but the Hearthstone team, or the Hearthstone app specifically, had connectivity issues for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes today on Americas. So kind of a rocky couple days technically. They eventually got it all figured out. I didn't personally experience most of these bugs, but it is unfortunate here that some people had some pretty impactful experience issues.
Yeah, I was in the middle of streaming when it happened last night, not today. And I just had to stop the stream. Like, I guess I could have switched to a different game, but I sort of wasn't feeling that. So at first it was like, well, maybe it's just me. Looks like some other people are still going. Sent a raid over. Nope, no point in doing that because Funky Monkey, who sent a raid over, was also having the same issue and getting off. It just was a mass, like, yes, we're done with Hearthstone. Unfortunate.
Yeah. And it's unclear if this was Battle.net in all regions. I know it hit America. I got really intermittent reports of people with connectivity issues in other servers, but nothing that I can speak to with any kind of authority. But America's was down for a good while, for almost an hour. And it was all Blizzard games.
Yeah, and it was in the evening Eastern, so that might have been that. I mean, not that anyone goes to sleep at a normal hour who's going to be tweeting about Hearthstone necessarily, but it would have been pretty late EU, so we might not have heard as many people complaining about it at that point. Would have been like after like midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., depending on where it was in EU.
I mean, all the EU players that I know are still awake at that time, but
yeah, that's why as soon as I said that, I kind of qualified it, because like, yeah, that's like prime time esports time. So yeah.
Yep. And that's it for the news. That's it. Jeez, that was a big news section. Giant patch, giant news section. And for an abbreviated, I'm going to do a Twitter thread about this, I've decided, but for an abbreviated Ridiculous Hats guide to patch timing expectations, probably don't expect a balance patch for another week and a half. For Standard, for Battlegrounds. If we're super duper lucky, they might get it by the end of next week, but typical timing is 2 weeks from a major patch. They have to do testing, they have to do localization, they also have to figure out what they actually want to change. I am guessing that Standard, they probably have an idea already, but in Battlegrounds, they usually have to wait for the full weekend. If it's just numbers changes, they can get those moving pretty fast, especially if it's armor system changes, which I imagine will happen via hotfix. But for actual changing content in the game, that is a new build, even if it's data only, which means they have to do full regression testing and localization for any text changes, which means unlikely to be sooner than a week from today. Thursday the 19th is the absolute earliest and not what I'm expecting. I would guess Tuesday the 24th. Expect to patch every 2 weeks. Probably not going to see balance changes anytime soon. It's just the nature of software development. Manage your expectations. Try some other modes if you're not feeling them right now. If you're liking Standard right now, smoke them while you got them. Heroic Brawlseum next week. I don't think they'll patch in the middle of a Heroic Brawlseum because that would be complicated. So yeah. I would expect Tuesday the 24th for any balance changes. Maybe some armor hot fixes before then in BGs because those are entirely server side. So just be aware. Yeah. Manage your expectations.
I mean, I could see them using the Brawlseum as like a final check of whatever they want to do, right? Like, because if somebody's going to figure out a hard counter to Demon Hunter that's not Warrior, they're going to do it during the Brawlseum, right? Like,
I don't believe that any additional hard counter will change the play experience of Demon Hunter to the point where they shouldn't nerf it.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
But if anything's going to happen, that's the kind of meta where something would emerge, right?
Sure.
So that's kind of where I could see them just using that as a final sanity check. Like, okay, if nobody figures it out now and it doesn't really, because sometimes the Brawlseums will affect the meta. Usually those Brawlseums are a lot closer to launch than this one is. But we do find some things that people will try because the meta gets so condensed in those things that somebody could try it. And they might land on something, but I wouldn't expect it's going to change much of the velocity anyway. Like I mean, Drek'Thar's pretty much on the chopping block. It's gonna limit design space going forward if they don't change it, regardless.
Yep. My hope beyond hope is that they have already submitted standard changes that they figured out for localization in advance, so that they don't have to wait for that when they make the change. That is my hope, but again, reasonable expectations. I would expect Tuesday the 24th because 2 weeks between patches is common and what they usually do because of the need for testing, localization, distribution, whatever. All the software terms. It is really rare for them to get patches out the door that require a new build in less than 2 weeks. Really, really rare. Usually comes with some issues. You don't want those. And they often can't get them shipped anyways. So, that is our abbreviated guide for patch expectations. Now, let's go to Steve for the weather. I mean, tournaments.
It's the Grand Tournament!
So no new balance changes means not much of a change in the tournament meta. We had the first week of Masters Tour 5 qualifiers, and it's pretty much the same story. Aggro Demon Hunter is still a good deck. Who knew? It's about 27% banned. Still the best deck, and it's not close. 58% win rate. The next best deck was Beast Druid with somewhere between 52 and 53%. So like a 5% gap between that and the next best deck. And that was in the lineups that did not have it banned. So these were these again, we say this every week, but just to reiterate, those results were players who thought they could target Demon Hunter. It was still the best deck by a wide margin, and it wasn't close. Stop trying to target Demon Hunter, just ban the thing. That is my heartfelt advice to you. Just ban Demon Hunter and don't try to target it. It's going to end in tears.
The win rate of Demon Hunter went up this week because the ban rate went down. And if you look at the winning qualifier lists, there were only 4 warriors in qualifier winners the entire week. One of them was a quest warrior. So warrior is really only a deck that exists to beat Demon Hunter in Conquest formats. We've been talking about it over in THL. If you look at the matchup spread, in the 8 most popular decks, 1 is the mirror for Control Warrior. There are 6 unfavorable matchups, and then you beat Demon Hunter. So if you are banning Demon Hunter, then bringing Warrior doesn't make sense. And if you are leaving Demon Hunter up, name 2 other decks that can consistently beat DH with a straight face. You cannot. And no Holy Paladin is not accepted as an answer. Yeah,
and it's you're just not going. I mean, even in the favored matchups, like the favored matchups are like 45% for the Demon Hunter, which means that 45% of the time they're still going to win anyway. And if your entire strategy revolves around beating that deck and you lose to that deck, then the rest of your strategy is out the window. It is worth saying in a 3-deck meta, it's a little bit easier to target a deck than a 4-deck meta, but still just don't do it. Just leave it out, ban it, and then try to deal with the rest of the deck. So the other popular decks in addition to Demon Hunter, Quest Hunter, Control Warrior, Naga Mage, Mech Paladin, and Boar Priest were the most popular. Quest Hunter in particular is in 45% of lineups because it also has a very, very good matchup spread. Only loses to Demon Hunter, which if you ban it, you don't have to worry about it. And Druid, which is not nearly as popular as it used to be. Its next worst matchups are against Mech Mage and Mech Paladin, and those are basically 50-50. So if I was giving you advice on how to build a lineup for the next set of qualifiers, I would say you start with Aggro Demon Hunter and Quest Hunter, and then figure out your third deck when you have a bunch of very fine options there. Boar Priest, it should be mentioned, because that seems to be a topic of discussion. If last week's episode is any example, Boar Priest has a 47% win rate across the board, but it was in 7 of 18 winning decks for across qualifiers. Boar Priest is not very good against Demon Hunter or Quest Hunter, but it does very well at beating a lot of the third decks, Control Warrior in particular. So it also does fairly well against the Paladins and against Naga Mage. So it has a use case, and for players who are skilled at the deck, then it will be able to do something. Now, that being said, I've been playing Control Warrior on ladder. I've played against Boar Priests, and very often, even though it's a horribly unfavored matchup for me, I just play it out because more often than not, they screw up and concede. So that's a caveat if you're thinking about bringing Boar Priest. Make sure you know the deck cold because it is very easy to screw up, and then you do not have a lot of margin for error, especially in a 3-deck format. Also worth noting, Burn Shaman and Fatigue Warlock both have 49% win rates, which is equivalent to Mech Paladin. They've not won any qualifiers, but they did show up in some top 8 lineups. So you'd probably want to dig into the stats at my site, which is offcurve.com/Masters Tour, to kind of figure out what you want to target with those. But those are valid options if you're looking to bring one of those decks and you have some reps on them.
I can tell you what they target, Steve.
Yeah.
They target Boar Priest.
Okay. Yep. I can see it.
This format's dumb.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, if you don't, if they can't attack, they can't kill it off, and you just freeze them. Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, and also
or you burn
against
stuff.
Agony
Yeah.
Warlock, Boar Priest typically draws the whole deck on purpose, so
Right.
they're gonna draw a lot of damage, and they typically don't like taking 30 from hand, which the Burn Shaman tends to do. So yeah, there is now a small target Boar Priest meta, which again has not resulted in any wins, has led to some top 8s, but there was one Burn Shaman win. No Warlocks have taken home the envelope yet.
What a time to be alive. I'll tell you. So coming up, there are no Masters Tour 5 qualifiers this weekend. There will be qualifiers the following two weekends. They've typically been building in a week off in these last sets, and it seems, and they've been front loading the qualifiers for Masters Tours that are scheduled throughout the rest of the year. So it's not for any reason other than it just happens to be a weekend off.
Well, the reason is Lobby Legends. I believe.
Are they scheduling around Lobby Legends? Are they actually doing that?
I think last Masters Tour season, the reason there were the weekend there was no qualifiers, it fell on the weekend of Lobby Legends. It's either a very specific coincidence or they're scheduling around it. I would guess they're scheduling around it.
Okay, maybe that's the reason then. But yeah, we do have Lobby Legends this weekend. It is if you're in the US, it may be a little bit difficult to watch live. It starts at 2 a.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. Pacific.
I'm there
on Saturday.
Let's go.
Yeah. So
Edel and I will be in tournament chat along over in the Gwenkaty Discord.
So if you could hang out with Had at terrible o'clock and watch that, some of us will probably catch the VODs the next day. But that will be happening. It will be Sottle and Raven that will be casting that. And also if you want to play in qualifier and try to get qualified for a Masters Tour, you can play in the DreamHack Major that is this weekend. There's 4 qualifiers that are staggered throughout the day on Saturday, feeding into a top 8 bracket on Sunday, which will be starting at around, I believe, 3 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/DreamHackClash, which I will be casting along with Dragon Rider and Language Hacker. So you can potentially get casted by me and 2 other casters who are I'm really looking forward to this. I'm geeking out. I mean, Dragon Rider and I have not gotten to cast together yet, so I'm really excited about that. And getting to cast with Language Hacker is going to be a treat. He was one of the first players that I casted when I started casting things for one of Bemi's prior projects. It was like right after he won regionals, the regional playoffs, and so it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. And it should be, given that there are no qualifiers going on and that the last major had a number of former grandmasters who participated in it. It should be pretty fun to watch. So you'll want to put that on your calendar for 3 p.m. Eastern. I'm not just saying that because I'm casting it, but I think that based on how the last DreamHack Major went, I think this is going to be one you're going to want to see.
Yeah, they tend to be fun tournaments, and listening to you, Donnie, and Language Hacker cast sounds pretty great. Yeah. And there is another event that Donkey just linked us in the chat. The Torneo Comunidad Hispania. I probably pronounced that poorly. Forgive me. My accent is bad. The Frenetic, Zotan, and Entera came together along with support from one of one of their viewers, and they're basically running an Orange Open equivalent this weekend, Standard
wow.
Conquest, 3-day tournament, $1,000 prize pool, and another Masters Tour qualifier spot. So there are a couple different ways to qualify this weekend. The link is in the chat here. It's also in the CoinKC Discord, and yeah, I didn't realize that this was a thing that was going on, but pretty cool that they're able to do this, and the community is getting support with Masters Tour invites. And finally, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, this has been, again, we regularly heap praise on Abar and the kind of changes that he's made to the esports system, but having this kind of regular support for third-party tournaments is a big deal. And having, like, not only that, but having, like, the space in the schedule to actually be able to have, like, a streamed event where you can have players competing in it that are not, that are not having to choose between that and a qualifier, or that and a Masters Tour, or having grandmasters who aren't going to be eligible. Like, I think this is we haven't had this in a really long time. And I really think it's a great thing for the community to have this kind of diversity and have people like Orange and Frenetic be able to, start up their own events and have them cast and have a reason in addition to the prize pool for people to enter it. I think this is really great, and I'm really excited for what this means going forward, especially because, like, we're going to have a period of time pretty soon where qualifiers every weekend stop because they front loaded a lot of those, and we're only going to have a Masters Tour like once every 6 weeks or so. So there's going to be room in the schedule for these other things, and I'm glad that Blizzard is actually supporting the third-party tournaments to fill those gaps in the schedule and makes it so that we can have these types of events again.
It's pretty rad.
Yeah.
Thank you, Abar. And finally, the most important tournament of all, the CoinKC Listener Series is spinning back up again. So if you want to play super low stakes, casual, competitive, best of 3, 1 match per week against helpful, friendly opponents that will be in the Discord and will soon be your friends, then come on over to discord.coinkc.com, sign up, free to play, low stakes. I like entering these because I play things that are tier fun. They are meta-adjacent decks that normally would not have any place on ladder, but I can tell you, my week 1 lineup, there will be at least one Hydrolodon. If I could play more than I would.
You know what? If you really wanted to bring it, you would put a Blackwater Behemoth in your deck. On purpose. That's my challenge to you.
I put it in my deck
you
with
could just
Ambassador
pick
Phelan. Ambassador Phelan puts it in my deck. I will play Blackwater Behemoth by proxy. Maybe it's time for Earleg Priest. Maybe it's time.
Ooh.
Maybe I'm going to bless a Mida. You don't know. This is the perfect kind of event if you want to bless your Mida. That's what you do. That's what you do in the CoinKC Listener Series.
#blessed.
Yes. Updating the episode title. Let's go to Dexplanations.
So while it may not be the best choice for tournaments, depending on how you've built it, Warrior is doing quite well on ladder for pretty much all the builds having a shot against Demon Hunter, and a lot of flexibility in building because From the Depths is a ridiculous card. And then all the Warriors fighting the Demon Hunters in terms of the regular build that I'm sure many people have seen with the school teachers that have a very high probability of Noggling giving you even more armor from like a heavy plate or a frozen buckler or a shield block. There's a lot of options. Warriors have kind of devolved towards trying to win the mirror. And so I've included 3 examples of different kinds of warriors. We can start with the based one, which all of them have shield shatter plus frozen buckler. The base one has heavy plates as well. You've got your Onyxian Drakes, your school teachers, which are usually that's where you're using your brands, is for school teacher Noggling shenanigans. So you just gain a ton of armor. or maybe pick up a removal spell or something. All of these have Nelly, that is very frequently the win condition. The base one has your Kazakusan, and so you've got enough dragons to proc Kazakusan, and if you do end up having to run late, then that's kind of your win condition towards the end. You've got Mutinous as well, so if you can eat an opposing warrior's Kazakusan, etc. Finley is good in these lists specifically because of From the Depths. So sometimes you go From the Depths, discount the whole bottom of your deck, play Finley, you immediately get those discounted cards. Since all of them are discounted by 3, that can be pretty substantial in terms of swing turns. Stins made a weapon warrior list that basically, to be able to win the mirror and just be sort of more proactive in general, we have that same package as before, but you include Mr. Smite so that when you miss Smite on Nelly, you still just get to play your own Smite to go with the 1-mana pirates and just kill them. And then it actually runs enough weapons to use double Forged in Flame and Lady Ashvane. And let me tell you, those blacksmithing hammers get extremely large when you've maybe traded once or twice, played a Lady Ashvane, and then suddenly you've just got a hammer that represents, 30 damage over a few turns. So that one still has quite a lot of armor gain, pretty well positioned to still beat the Demon Hunters with all life gain. You've got a Smothering Starfish so that you can silence opposing warriors' Nellies. I think that's the main reason that's there. Also helps a bit against Paladin. Double Brawls, also good against Paladin. But yeah, you've got things to just kill them. Captain Galvangar is in this list. There's no to the front combo. It's just every once in a while you're setting up that 2-turn lethal.
Yeah,
And
it feels like it has a way too many weapons, but you turn a lot of them into just cards with Forged in Flames, which is completely insane in this deck, and you play it almost like Poison Rogue with armor, where you have to be attacking face over minions pretty often unless you're specifically looking to draw cards with Outrider's Axe, but you just want to hit them to get them within range of a bunch of charge damage from Smite 1, potentially 1-mana Smite 2, and also Galvangar, where you want to deal large chunks of damage in sequence. Sometimes you'll break your own weapons. A lot of times you'll do it with Forge and Flame. Sometimes you just overwrite them. Overwrite your own Sunken Trident to put an Ajaran Trident, or overwrite your Ajaran Trident to put a Sunken Trident on the bottom, then attack with something else, then overwrite that to clear the board. You do all sorts of crazy stuff. I think it is worse than regular Control War, but not significantly worse, and it plays very differently.
yeah.
And the silence makes a lot of sense, just given like the volume of treasure guards in the meta, if nothing else, right? Because like you do need to actually be able to hit face. So being able to silence everything and then throw all your things towards the face does make a lot of sense. I mean, just it's almost a bonus being able to silence an opposing Nelly, but just being able to get the treasure guards or whatever else out of the way is probably good too.
I think the main reason it's there is for opposing Nellies. I'm pretty sure that's the main reason.
Yeah, probably true.
As there was an uptick in Paladins, who it's also pretty good against, but Paladins and Warriors, people started thinking about, well, how do I win the mirror against Warriors? And so that's where we've got some of these evolutions of the deck. And then my favorite and perhaps the most sketched, although I've been having luck with it, I have not lost to a warrior at all with this. I call it Shield Quest. My EU teammate, Final S or Finals, made a Quest Warrior list that just also contains Frozen Buckler, Shield Shatter, and Shield Block. And then the one weapon that you get is Outrider's Axe. It has 2 rankers and a brawl as well. So you still have a shot against Demon Hunter. It's not as consistent against the Demon Hunter, just because you don't have heavy plate and you don't have those Nogglings to maybe gain a bit more armor. So it's less consistent at being able to armor out of their range, but you are more able to present counter lethals. Something that I added, actually, I believe his list had Mutinous as well as an additional Stormwind Freebooter. he was probably honestly banning Demon Hunter. This was for a tournament lineup, but or I think the first ban was Quest Hunters anyway. I just added From the Depths because From the Depths is insane, and I think that's been very successful, at least on ladder. I'm something like 10-0 against other warriors because Juggernaut is really good against them. I have a couple of times played Bran and Juggernaut, and people have occasionally conceded on the spot to that, or realized after a few turns, oh wait, we're not getting anywhere. I had someone actually pick a fully defensive Kazakusan, and Double Boat just ran them out of stuff because we had the removal to deal with their boards, and they thought they were going to win in fatigue, only for us to sink enough tridents that we just stopped taking fatigue because there's only 6 weapons. So you get a Zarin Trident often enough that you don't actually fatigue with this deck.
Is this Hearthstone? What game did you play? I've never played this game.
All I can say is holy shit. That's all I can say.
Oh, yeah.
So Double Boat, very, very good. Obviously, that doesn't happen too often.
Has that happened to you more than that one time?
Yes.
What?
Of course it has. Why are you even asking that question? You
No,
know,
it's
you
not
know
have
the
Double
answer
Boat
to that.
happen. Have you barely won a fatigue game where your Double Boat was nearly countered by a Kazakusan more than one time?
Usually I kill them after they Kazakusan.
That
Usually
would be
it's
my
like
guess.
they Kazakusan and then I smite and they die.
That sounds
how
more
that tends to
normal. That sounds more normal. As opposed to, oh, I had enough sunken tridents to avoid dying to fatigue damage after their Kazakusan.
So there was a time, I think this might have been when Mutinous was still in the list, where I ate their Kazakusan and we only had one boat, and so the fatigue mattered. But yeah,
Imagine having to win with only one boat.
I've since removed Mutinous from the deck. Yeah,
Not a pirate.
not a pirate, indeed.
Yeah. Let it never be
So-
said that there is not still a possibility for innovation in the current standard meta.
I think the main reason that innovation exists for Warrior specifically is because you have these few card combos that are very powerful, and From the Depths is insane. You have a one card win condition many times in Nelly, and then when you include Frozen Buckler's Shield Shatter, and I think this is the most important thing to remember with the Warrior. The reason I'm hesitant to say, oh, these are control warrior lists, particularly as you get more towards the direction of that quest, it's less and less actually control, is because you're trying to set up high tempo swing turns. And so From the Depths can do that in terms of you get massive discounts. And Shield Shatter does that because you can just go Frozen Buckler, Shield Shatter, which is 2 mana to clear most boards. And then on the back of that, you play a whole bunch of minions. In the baseline list, once you've played From the Depths and you have, discounted school teachers and brands and stuff, there are times where you set up an instant board because you got a discounted brand and a discounted school teacher. So you go Shield Shatter, clear their board, brand, school teacher, you take a Noggling that gives you the guard the something, make a
Guard
2/3
the city?
Guard the city. So you gain 6 armor and make 2/3 taunts. Instant board stays. Board state on the turn that you've just cleared their board. And that's how you end up being good against Demon Hunter a lot of the time. Playing single minions is often detrimental fighting Demon Hunters because then you just open yourself up to, I think it's the most common thing is 4 health minion and they go Dread Prison Glaive, multi-strike, hero power. Kill the minion, hit you for 4, you've taken 8. Like you feel so bad for developing.
Yeah.
But if you have a ton of minions all at once, multiple taunts, gain a bunch of armor, like that's how you're going to get there. And Shield Shatter is just so powerful in that way. I also, a personal favorite of mine is when I have, 1 to 2 Stone Maul Anchormans, maybe one of them is discounted. you can do plays where you play the Anchorman first, and I do this against druids usually, ramp druids. Play the Anchorman first, and then you Shield Shatter. So you get that card, and then it still survives, and you can attack in to finish off a giant or something. You know, anything that's not going to die to that Shield Shatter.
Yeah, it occurred to me the other day after jamming a bunch of games again with it. This is just Ramp Druid at this point. Like that's kind of where we are with Warrior. Warrior is basically Ramp Druid. It plays very similarly when you start to think about it, right? Like you're playing slow the first few turns, you're just setting stuff up. You're, getting some mana discounts or getting, the mana discounts are kind of the opposite of the ramp. And you're just trying to swing the board. And then once you swing the board, you don't let it go. And, I think that people really focus. I think one of the mistakes that people play in it, and I'm going to talk more about I don't want to say normal deck, but I guess maybe I will.
Archetypical.
The more traditional,
archetypical.
the deck. Yeah, the decks you'll see on HS Replay, right? Like the more common list, right? Like it does play, it's like the slow end of mid-range effectively, but it is still going to be kind of control-ish. And I think that there's a tendency, as when you're not used to playing that kind of deck, we talked about playing control plenty of times on the show at this point, at least in my short tenure here.
Funny how that works.
There's a tendency. Yeah, I know. There is a tendency to overreact, right? Like, I think like one of the things that you can do to lose yourself the game against the Demon Hunter is to just like, you have 2 mana, they played a Vanguard and like a Slither Spear, and you just immediately like Frozen Buckler Shield Shatter. And you can wait, right? Like, you don't have to remove that board. You like Shield Shatter is the way you're going to swing the game, right? You want to be able to do that if you have follow-up, or at least you're going to get enough card advantage out of it that you're going to like 3 or 4 for 1 then. Like, there have been some games when I just sat on like a heavy plate to be able to like heavy plate Hero Power Shield Shatter on 5 to react to a Drekthar. And that was enough, right? Because like they generally have been saving up for that Drekthar, the first couple turns. And then they play that, and yeah, it's drawing them out of the deck, but you just deal with it with a card, and you're able to, react to it afterwards. And I think just kind of thinking about how to save your big swings and then be able to develop behind it, ideally, is really the way that you're going to get there. Using From the Depths and using Finley the right way. Like we were talking, I don't know if we were actually recording at this point. We were talking like, it's Finley on 1, and it's like, well, why would you do that, right? Like the idea of Finley is to basically, that's your nourish turn, right? Like you're drawing a whole bunch of stuff that's discounted, and you don't get that if you play that before you From the Depths. Sometimes you have to. Like there are times when it's appropriate to just Finley, just because you need to just swap your hand, because your hand isn't doing anything for you. But you want to make sure that you're not waiting too long on that, because the more cards you play before you Finley, the less cards you get back. So it's easy to kind of get attached to the value that's in your hand and say, well, I don't want to play this right now because I want to have this in my hand later, and then play all that stuff out, and then you're only getting 2 cards back from Finley, and it's not enough for the swing. You want that to be like, you want to kind of swing with an Outrider's Axe, hit into something, get the extra draw, and then Finley with a big hand, so that you're getting to see a lot of stuff. And then hopefully some of that stuff is discounted, maybe discounted twice, and then you can have a big swing turn. But if you kind of get attached to the value in your hand, then that doesn't happen. And one other thing that Finley's really good for in the mirror is hiding Kazakusan, right? Like that's because like the mirror, again, when you're dealing with the common, not the warrior, the anti-warrior missiles that Edelweiss is running, but like, when you're dealing with like a normal, a mirror between the 2 common decks, like it often comes down to who can eat who's Kazakusan. So like being able to, tuck the Kazakusan away at the bottom of the deck, even if you haven't found the From the Depths, knowing that it's at the bottom of the deck, you're not gonna be able to draw it right away. That can sometimes make the difference in the mirror between winning and losing also.
just feels like you all play such different games than I do, which is fascinating to hear about this stuff. The idea of needing your Kazakhstan later, so tuck it now, is just so foreign to anything that I've done in weeks. I tried Dragon Paladin once, and it was so clearly just I knew I was bad at it right away. But just hearing
Well,
about
that's also
the way
because that
that you have
deck
to-
wasn't very good, but you know.
It's okay. If I was better at playing a control deck, then I'm sure that it would have been fine. But I lost because I thought I need to outlast their Kazakhstan and not play mine first. I made that mistake, but you just want to play Kazakhstan first, usually, I think.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's fascinating to hear about the way that you approach it, because I always think about these matchups and mulligans in the first 5 turns being so important. And while it is important in some matchups, if you're in the control mirror, your mulligan almost feels like it's irrelevant, because you're not going to win fast either way.
Well-
I mean, it's irrelevant except for From the Depths usually.
Yeah, From the Depths, premium, always keep, even against Demon Hunter, like, the mana discount is insane. Being able to look on the bottom of your deck for those removal options that you're going to want access to, very, very powerful. So all of these decks, From the Depths, ridiculous. Against Demon Hunter, obviously, is where the mulligan matters the most, because you know they've got you on a clock. So you really want to keep Shield Shatter, Frozen Buckler, Rancor. All of those can be pretty good. The Shield Shatter and Buckler are most important, but I will still keep a Rancor, because if they go for the Vanguard, since they know you usually only run 1 Rancor or something, they'll want to pressure you with that Vanguard. So if you can respond with a Rancor, you sort of cancel all that out. It's very nice.
Yeah. And in the mirror, like, the mulligan is important not for what you are going to have in your hand, but what you're not going to have in your hand. Right? Because there are cards like Rikara, like Nelly, Bran, that you want to get discounted. So if you draw them, then you can't, right? So it's almost like you're mulliganing the stuff you want to get back in the deck more so than you want the stuff that you want to get into your hand.
Yeah, I think if it were not for From the Depths, you would probably keep Nelly against other warriors.
Yeah, you
but
would.
Because of From the Depths, you don't do that, because you would much rather increase your odds of getting it discounted and playing it on 4, which can lead to some blowout games. I actually, with this quest one that I've been running to beat up on other warriors, I've started throwing back the quest against Demon Hunter. Now, I'm not sure if I should be doing that every time, but it has helped, because it makes me more likely to hit those particular tools that I need in order to face the Demon Hunter, and 90% of the time, I am not playing the quest reward against Demon Hunter, like, not even close. So the only things that would matter, maybe, are the drawing the Outrider's Axe or the 2 cannon shots in the mid-game, and I just don't think those are high impact enough compared to how screwed I am if they Drekthar or coin Drekthar and I don't have the Shield Shatter response.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, how to use Bran is also really important in these lists, because I think that it's kind of, it depends, and how you're going to use it really does depend on the matchup. Like, School Teacher's kind of an obvious one, where you'll be, and it's important to remember that if you can leave enough mana for one of the Nogglings, you also get the Noggling effect twice. So you can get a lot of armor with, like, double shield block, double
Heavy plate
double
just makes
heavy
me want to
plate.
quit the game. Like, usually I play things that are a little bit more aggressive, and so even if I'm on, like, a Quest Hunter or whatever, and Quest Hunter, you're favored as the hunter, but when they go Bran heavy plate, that's 16 armor for not a lot of resource investment. They usually get to do something else with it, especially if they like Amalgam of the Deep. And they even just get 2 random Murlocs. Maybe they get a Gorlock Ravager, draw a few cards. Maybe they don't, they're just crappy Murlocs. It doesn't even matter, just the amount of time that they buy by doing that is a ton.
Yeah, and one thing that I've started taking off of Nogglings more lately is Shoulder Check, which is the give a minion +2/+1 in rush, because you almost always have the School Teacher on board, right? So that's just like a huge removal if you need it, especially against Demon Hunter. that's been coming up pretty clutch. And actually, like, I actually had a game where I actually intentionally, I was in L's chat when I said this, I actually intentionally took Fires of Zinajari off of the Noggling
Oh,
because I was
boy.
against War Priest. So I figured what I was gonna do didn't matter, so may as well get some jank and see if I can throw them off. And they ended up conceding the next turn anyway, so I guess it worked. So you know, 100% win rate with that strat. But you know, me making sure that you can get a lot of value off of the school teacher with Bran. I think in the mirror, generally what you're trying to hit is Mutinous, because if you can get two shots at hitting their Kazakusan, that's better than one. That's generally how numbers work. Double Nelly is obviously kind of the premium hit, but you have to make sure when you do that you have room in your hand for all the pirates, because otherwise you're kind of wasting that if you end up burning a card, or if you're only going to get like 4 pirates out of it, it may not be worth it. So that's more of like a late game strat when you've already used up a lot of the rest of the value in your hand.
From what I can tell, it sounds like you pretty frequently have more value. But yeah, I mean, there are times when the deck can run out of stuff. Just it takes a while. It's more about like time and mana pressure than anything, because sometimes you have to decide between, you know, what do I do the school teacher now? Do I set up for, like, am I getting beat down? Can I take another turn off? Especially with only one Brawl, one Rancor, and a lot of lists, it feels like that sometimes pressure is hard to deal with if you don't hit the Shield Shatter combo.
It can be, yeah.
Yeah, and Paladins showing up can be pretty tricky because you have damage-based removal for the most part, and those Divine Shields are a huge pain to deal with. Every once in a while, like you were saying, they bring up that initially 4/2 that summons a copy with Divine Shield, but it's been maybe buffed a couple of times, and now so there's a pair of 8/6s with Divine Shield. Like, that stuff gets really tough to deal with, and post Liadrin hero, or not Liadrin, the Cariel hero, just those hero powers, just throwing a bunch of stats on things, it can get pretty tough if you're not presenting counter lethal. And I think that's probably the number one differentiator between these decks and control decks of old, if you want to call these control decks. I'm not sure, honestly, if we will ever have a tank up, rank up again. I like, control is dead, long live control. I don't know. It's the new era involves win conditions for these kinds of decks. So maybe this is just how we will refer to control from now on. But
I mean, control,
there's weaknesses here.
The tank up, rank up decks are the outliers, not the actual rule. The original control warrior in vanilla Hearthstone involved killing your opponent with Grom. You would Alex draws, and then you would Grom, and you would kill them. So
yeah,
the full-on attrition, fatigue your opponent every time by killing all of their stuff control decks were really, really rare and usually nerfed. Like, Elise, Justicar, 28 removal spells was not something that consistently happened in Hearthstone history. Or, you know, Dr. Boom Control Warrior with Elysiana, they nerfed it. Kazakusan Control Warrior, they nerfed it, and it's now... And this is a different ball game than the Kazakusan Control Warrior we had in Onyxia's Lair, where it was Kazakusan 29 removal spells.
Or Baron's Priest.
Yeah, which even then, like Baron's Priest, it would N'Zoth and make a big board and hit you with it, but yeah, it would go forever, and it could. But I think the semantic discussion around what is control, what is not, is silly. Because it's all contextual anyways. It's based on what the cards in the format do. As a general rule, aggro is trying to push the game forward quickly and cares a lot about the first 5 turns. Control wants to push the game later and wants to get past the first 5 turns, and anything beyond that ends up being just details. The current version of Demon Hunter doesn't have a lot of low drops. It cuts every 1 except Slither Spear and every 2 except Vanguard. Doesn't mean it's not an aggro deck. It means it plays Drekthar and it wants to hit 3s all the time. And it can do 20 plus damage from hand on turn 6 or turn 8 or whatever, but also it can go 1 drop, 2 drop, 3 drop, kill you on 6. It can do all those things because the deck is just a little bit too good. It's fine. And
I think the lines are getting blurred in a lot of different decks now. Lady Sethino means that sometimes that aggro deck functions like what looks like a combo deck, where they just have this crazy damage turn pop off with Lady Sethino and multiple predations, and you just die from 20 plus in 1 turn. That's not the main thing they're doing. It is not a combo deck, but it has wins like that. The Amulet Mech Mage, sometimes you will play things on curve and just build up your mechs and have endless boards of mechs. And sometimes with that deck, I have just gotten full hands of mechs, discounted them twice, and then I played 3 Mecha Sharks against a warrior and OTK'd them from over 30 life. So I think it's really hard to specifically classify anything right now.
I would argue that it isn't
and
even
you can
relevant.
pressure with these.
Isn't
Yeah,
even
well,
worth
and it doesn't-
classifying.
Yeah, in some cases, I think you kind of you're what is it, missing the forest for the trees or something like that.
Shortcutting used to be a way to tell you how do I play the matchup. If you are aggro and you're against mid-range, go wide quickly, but you're against control, hold stuff back. You can't really shortcut matchups the same way anymore because of the nuance and complexity of these decks, along with the variety of the power cards. Because if I hold a bunch of stuff back against current control warrior, and they get from the depths into Finley, and they play a bunch of 1-mana Onyxian Drakes, then the game is over. But if I go super wide and I get Rancor, then the game is over, and it's all about understanding their cards and not trying to shortcut their strategy, because Hearthstone is a more complex game now than it was 5 years ago when people tried to force magic terms into the game, or like 10 years ago, whatever. And instead, you have to play to the cards in your opponent's deck instead of trying to find some kind of shortcut strategy that has worked historically.
Yeah. And I mean, you can pivot, right? Like, it's important when you're playing these decks to recognize the situation. Like, you can just flood the board and go, right? Like, there are times when that's appropriate. Like, you don't have to get the battle cry off of a Onyxian Drake every time. It's okay to just play it as a 4/5 taunt sometimes. Especially, like, if you have an Amalgam in the Deep, you can get another dragon. Maybe that's fine, right? Or there are times when you're just, like, rushing dragons to get Kazakusan down. It's fine to just play it as a minion sometimes. Like, it's still a taunt. It's still a decent body. So it's important to kind of be aware of the context and not play it like we used to play control decks, which is just like, okay, I need to be able to answer everything. You don't have to answer everything. You just have to answer the big turns. Like, if you can answer the Drekthar turn, you're gonna you're gonna be okay a lot of the time against Demon Hunter. If you can't, you're gonna be in trouble. But if you can answer the Drekthar turn, it may take you a little while to stabilize, but you can generally get there. But you have to have an answer for that. But you don't have to have an answer for the Vanguard or the Slither Spear every time. You might want to deal with the Slither Spear early because it can sometimes get out of control. But yeah.
Fun fact: Slither Spear is, I think, the #1 card for Demon Hunter against Warrior.
Yeah, it does can do a lot of work. Yeah.
It's Mana Worm.
It is-
Mana Worm is good against control.
It is equivalent or maybe even a little bit better than Drekthar in the matchup. Because they're
Jeez.
preparing for the Drekthar turn, they have nothing against the Slither Spear on 1.
Right.
So
It
that's
would have
why
to be like Frozen Buckler, Coin Shield Slam, or something like stupid like that. Which
Yeah.
You don't
just
do that.
you can do it, but it feels like
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
That's why I tend to, as the Demon Hunter against these, you always keep Slither Spear, and I have coined out a Vanguard on 1, or just played it on 2, because that's going to get you the most damage. Honestly, if you're playing Rogue and you play a Fillet Fighter or Fillet Fighter against a Warrior, that thing does a lot of damage before they actually can handle it. It is insane. Yeah, J. Alex in chat is saying it's a Pyroblast. It's like the best card because there's just not the early removal.
Did you just go temporarily British on us?
What?
By
Fillet
calling it
versus
Fillet
fillet.
Fighter?
I just misspoke.
Oh, okay. Because that's I thought it would be delightful if you went like temporarily British. Well,
No, it's
talking about
pronounced Fillet. So I would say the main win conditions for the Warrior, you've got Nelly #1. It's win condition in a box. Those 1-mana Pirates close out games fast, and when you can get this on 4, it's stupid off of From the Depths. Raid Boss Onyxia for the run-of-the-mill list. often does this, right? If you have been sort of doing your clears, staying above water against Demon Hunter, and then finally you land raid boss Nixia, you clear their stuff, and you've got an 8/8 in play, like that helps a ton as well. Unless they have a Puffer Fist or something to deal with those 2/1s. Like it's protection against the Sathino turn. It just does a ton of work. Because there's this weird catch-22 against Demon Hunter in the mid to late game where you like don't want to have minions in play because Dread Prison Glaive will kill you. But if you have no minions in play, then Lady Sathino will kill you. So that's a weird balance to walk. But the number one thing is just that Shield Shatter swings the board.
I made the mistake of playing a Captain Galvangar for non-lethal once. I died.
Oh yeah, that's bad. That'll hurt.
It
But
did.
you can also like it's also worth keeping track of like have they played both glaives? Have they played both multi-strikes? Because they do sometimes have to do that. So if you've seen them, it's important to remember you don't have to play around it if they've used it already. Right? It sounds like a silly thing, but it's easy to kind of just get in the mindset of they always have it. But if they've played both copies, they don't have it anymore, right? And there have been some games against Demon Hunter where I've looked up at the deck tracker and said, "Oh, both the glaives and both the multi-strikes are gone. I'm clear sailing. I don't have to worry anymore."
Okay,
So
so
it
wait,
is
I can
important
add
to keep that in
value.
mind.
I can add value to this episode. Demon Hunter players, save your glaives. Save the glaive. Save it for your multi-turns. You don't have to play it on turn 1 unless you're getting Vanguard going on turn 2. Even then, you might not want to do that. Sometimes Vanguard, they keep it on the board because you're feeding them armor every time you make a 1/1. Save the glaive because you want to use that to give your hero Wind Fury. That's why you want glaive. So save it for use with multis to deal your opponent a bunch of damage. That's what you want to do. Like in the example that I gave, where I played at Galvangar, and I died anyways on turn 8 when I was at 22. By the way, here's a fun fact. I just looked at the replay. They didn't use glaive. They used Sathino. So they killed through my 9/9 and my face. They did 31 damage on turn 8 without the Dread Prison Glaive.
You played around it.
Yeah. I'll look at this later. I don't know if there was much I could have done to avoid the turn 8 31 damage. But regardless of this particular example where I died anyway, if you're the Demon Hunter, save the glaive to use to turn their minions into damage. Save your glaive, save your multis. There we go. I added value. Provided something of context.
Yes. And this is part of why I'm not really a Rustrot Viper fan. I mean, either in the Demon Hunters or the Warriors, but sort of in general. Yeah, if they save the glaive, you can't blow it up. And just having a thing that you have to trade all the time kind of sucks. So, and it's not like incredible off of Drekthar in the case of the Demon Hunter. So I'm not personally a fan of Rustrot Viper.
Nope. Don't play it.
I like it in Quest Hunter.
Well, sure. Quest Hunter's a little different. You need to get Cariel out of the way, and also you can summon 2 of them because your deck doesn't have other minions.
Yep.
So, last question on Warrior, because we're about to enter Control Warrior Mirror Match show length. But do you think we have to nerf anything here, assuming Demon Hunter gets at least 1 card nerf? If you assume Drekthar and some other Demon Hunter card get nerfed, do you have to nerf this deck? And if you did, what would you change?
So I think that to some extent, nerfing Demon Hunter is a nerf to the Warriors. Because, like we were saying, if someone does full mech paladin, that's a huge pain. Like, you definitely have to throw in second brawl there to be able to have a shot against those. Probably From the Depths is too much, though. Probably that discounts too much mana. I'm not sure. There's a few things you could adjust on that card. But From the Depths might be low-key carrying the class. I'm not sure. I mean, the deck definitely functions without it, but you have some serious high rolls, and I've maybe gone From the Depths into turn 4 Nelly too many times, like I was saying earlier. It is potentially 15 mana worth of discounts for a
That's more
card
than
that
a
you play on
skull.
turn 3. Now, granted, you do have to jump through some hoops. A couple of these you have Finley to swap, and so that's how you get the cards up. A couple of these have Obsidian Smith, which is very good both for making sure that you find your From the Depths and so that after you've played one, you can dredge up the cards that you've discounted. You can get some interesting sequences where you from the depths and then pick Obsidian Smith so you can play it to dredge up, something else that got discounted and get these weird, you're playing from the bottom of your deck, not the top of your deck anymore, sorts of chains. It can get a little bit silly.
And Gorlock Ravager is a card too that draws the Murlocs, and one of those Murlocs is Finley. So it's that's the 5 mana 4/3 that draws 3 Murlocs, and you run Finley and Mutinous and the 2 Amalgams, and you've usually drawn one of them by that point. So you usually get the other one. So that'll get you the Finley, or it'll just get you a Murloc. Like getting a 4 mana Mutinous, pretty good. I'll take that too.
I could see the argument for either. It's one of the mana cheating cards. It's either From the Depths to reduce by 2, probably, or Shield Shatter to add a couple mana to it. I could see either way.
Yeah,
My
I
instinct
feel like it's
is
probably
Go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like it's probably From the Depths though. We've had this conversation before, but Shield Shatter is kind of a load bearing card for Warrior right now. Like I feel like if you take that away, like because Warrior lost a lot of it lost Minefield, it lost Blade Storm, it lost a lot of the early removal, right? Like Rancor is good in the right meta, but again, except against like specifically Vanguard, it really doesn't do that much, and that's why people have been cutting it down. It's the only reason that it's still in the deck is because Demon Hunter is as prevalent as it is. So like if you take away Shield Shatter, it feels like Warrior takes a huge step back, whereas I think you could shave a number off of From the Depths, still maintain a lot of the power and a lot of the play style, but make it a little bit more reasonable, given that Finley exists and you're able to get, or maybe it's only 3 cards that get discounted, or maybe it's both, right? Like getting the 5 card 3 mana discount and then being able to Finley it, it's a lot. And something probably needs to change on that card, because I agree that nerfing Demon Hunter will be a nerf, because like the mech decks are good against it. Ramp Druid is fantastic against it. Quest Hunter's getting better against it, especially as people learn how to play the matchup. But it's still going to be good, and it'll probably just evolve a little bit. And From the Depths is only going to get better as we get more cards too. So it might just be the kind of thing where the design space you save may be your own,
Yeah. I think the reason why I'm leaning more towards Depths, even though I argued about Shield Shatter last week, is that From the Depths is just a general scam card. Shield Shatter serves a pretty clear purpose and has a pretty clear, like, the Buckler Shatter combo was significant, but I have played with Warrior a bit. Sometimes you get one and not the other. Sometimes you gotta figure it out, and sometimes you have a board clear. But From the Depths isn't really being used for any reason other than being in Cantor's Flow, and just giving you a bunch of mana isn't something that Warriors should just do. And for some reason, it's this near global mana cheating card, especially with Nelly, and especially with Finley. And it just, like, it's a cool card. I don't know why it functions the way it does in Warrior, as is. But I don't want them to delete it. I just don't want to lose on turn 6 to Control Warrior anymore when they play a bunch of 0 and 1 mana minions and then kill me out of nowhere. It doesn't feel like what Control Warrior needs to do.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing that wasn't good enough when Ramp Druid was pre-nerf. That card didn't see any play until after the nerf to the first round of nerfs, and that's when From the Depths made it into the deck. It's kind of amazing that it wasn't good enough, but yeah, it does feel like the games. The way I kind of track a card like that is you kind of get a sense of like the games where you have it early and the games where you don't. I remember doing this with Call to Arms way back when, right? And you just like remember like the games that I got Call to Arms, I won. The games that I didn't get Call to Arms, I lost. It's not quite that stark with From the Depths, but the games where you have From the Depths early feel very different than the games where it's at the bottom of the deck, like very different.
It feels correct to coin it out on 2, and that just sets off alarm bells in my head. Like, why is the control deck coining out a dredge card on turn 2, and why does it feel like they should be doing that? So yeah, I'm swayed by the argument. It doesn't need to be changed dramatically. I don't want either Demon Hunter or Warrior to be deleted. I want to happen like what happened to Ramp Druid, where it's still around, it's way worse, you have to actually make choices when you build the deck, and the choices change your matchups. Would love for that to be the circumstance we find both Warrior and Demon Hunter in. Warrior is close to that because it is a counter deck currently, just a very good one, that also sometimes has scammy draws. So it doesn't have to counter, if the thing that it is countering currently doesn't have to be countered anymore, then you just get to pull back the scamminess a little bit, and then it just becomes a normal Hearthstone deck. So yeah, that's cool. Well, I think we did a pretty deep dive here on Control Warriors, so for those of us that stuck with us all the way through, thank you so much, and we have many other folks we'd like to thank. Check out the thanks section on the website, coinconcede.com. You can find our contact info, our show notes, patron information. You can support us over at patreon.com/coinconcede. Join us every week live by following us on Twitch, twitch.coinconcede.com. Join our community chats and our Discord at discord.coinconcede.com, or to our email at coinconcede@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at CoinConcede. Like, share, and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/CoinConcede. Like some CC swag, head and order shop.coinconcede.com. Big thanks to our producers, so many now: Number Theory, Doja Proby1, Crash Cap, E-Squatch, David P, Fade to Black, Walu, Jeremy T, Bottle Caps, and Lucky. Thank you so much to Drexta83, Mr. Bungalow, Gator993, and Crash for subbing during the Twitch stream. And we've got some Coin Concedes. I will go first. Coin Concede to Blizzlet. I was on that show last night. It was a lot of fun. Go listen to that when it's out. It's not out currently at the time of this recording, but probably will be when you hear this show on Saturday. Bruised Elbow. Been a friend and supporter of the show for a long, long time. Some of my favorite coaching sessions ever, because both him and his son were both patrons for a little while, so we got to do a fun little co-op. First-time legend. Congratulations. Very well done. Mixed Clouds, for once again being an amazing, incredible painter. He painted a fox hat emote for me a long time ago. He did the Angry Chicken. He did all 3 of the hosts hand painted. And then this week has been a very sad dog news week, with both Shiro and Jocelyn, my co-host in Angry Chicken. Her dog Lex also passed. So Mix rolled up his sleeves and did some paintings, and there were some wonderful doggo paintings out there of both Shiro and Lex. So Mix, thank you so much for doing justice to these wonderful furry friends of ours. And Jocelyn, I want to specifically Coin Concede to her. Had a really rough week. Details on that are over on her Twitter, but she is an incredibly strong person, a good friend, and a hell of a podcaster. And her and her husband are going through a lot right now. They will make it, but it's been a heavy week for both of them, so Coin Concede to them. Edel?
But yeah, I just have Coin Concede to my friend Brendan. He moved to DC, got a job with the, I forget the federal agency, but I just know he had to go through all these hoops because there's a lot of stuff when you work from the federal government. He's in environmental, I don't know the specific term, but basically making sure people follow the regulations. And a few times during all this, I watched his cats, and so he thanked me with a Blizzard gift card, which I then used to get the Finley skin. So, Coin Concede to my friend Brendan.
And Steve?
Well, so I would like to Coin Concede to Starlex and to UHAT for pushing me to make the purchase of a video card that I found on Saturday. I've been, if you've watched my stream lately, I've been kind of struggling with some performance issues and a whole bunch of weird system issues. And I think a lot of it is that my CPU is doing a lot of the heavy lifting, and I'm hoping that a new video card will be able to help with that. And prices have finally come down, and I started looking at them on Saturday morning, and I found one for what is a very good price. And Hat not only told me, yes, go buy it, also buy it now. By the way, it's an hour later. Have you bought it yet? To make sure that I did that, because I bought it. I found this at 10 a.m. I had to wait for morning to get home, because this is a not insignificant purchase. I figure I should at least discuss it with my wife before I do it, even though I know she's not going to say no. And I went back and looked a couple hours later, and it was completely gone, even though it didn't say that it was like only 5 left in stock or whatever. And the reseller had jacked the price up by like $130. So that is coming tomorrow. I am very excited. I will have to restrain myself from not trying to install it right before my stream tomorrow night, but that'll be my
Don't do it.
my
Don't do it,
Saturday.
Steve.
I know. I will not do. I promise I will not try to do that. I might do it Friday night after my stream. That I don't. That I may want to do that, but you know I won't do it before my stream.
No work
also would
after
like
sunset, but that might not qualify as work. That might be fun.
that's not work. I'm sure all of the rabbis would agree with me. That's not work. That just don't ask any of them. So I also would like to coin concede to Ben Heatstone, Ben Heartstone, who has returned to us. It sounds like we had talked about this a few weeks ago. They had some, complications with the birth of their child. It sounds like things are progressing in a really good direction, and Ben is back with us and tweeting as prolifically as he was before. And I would like to say that the Hearthstone community as a whole is better for it, and has been pointing out things that I wouldn't have found on my own. And I feel like I'm fairly engaged, and he somehow finds these immediately and tweets them immediately. And I mean, I am happy for us as the Hearthstone community, but I'm also overjoyed that the situation with his child is improving enough that he feels like he's able to come back and be able to spend that time doing that again, and it's not like an emergency situation. So really happy for him, and glad that things are, because it sounded like from what was happening, it was a very scary situation, and it's really good to hear that things are moving in the right direction. I'm sure obviously it's going to be touch and go for a while, anything like that is, but any news is good news in that situation.
Yes. So that's going to do it for this week on Coin Concede. So keep calm and dredge and Tonelli. And if you see us on ladder, Coin Concede.
Coin concede.
Coin concede.
Stopping recording.
Okay, and downloading.
We did it.
Yay. It is amazing how I can be like falling over tired before we start recording, and then this just wakes me right the hell up, despite how hellacious my work day has been.
And makes you want to go play Hearthstone, I understand.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, I'll probably play
is-
some BGs in bed.
Yep. It is very, very difficult to consistently plan on editing right after the show. I know Edel feels my pain, because after we talk about the game for 2 hours, I just want to go play.
Yeah.
Exactly, 100%. Yeah, I'm just like, just like one game, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
2 hours later.
Yeah.
You're still in the same game because they're trying to fatigue your double boats.
No. There's 4 cannonballs going. It doesn't go that long.
You're still getting through all 10 Kazakhstan treasures.
There were some Anoya horns involved.
This is like Hat's Nightmare Space is what this is. This is like I'm trapped in a game and I can't get out. That's what that is.
Okay, the treasures they picked: Anoya horn, Gnomish army knife, which they didn't end up having a good use for.
Wand, I assume.
No wand, because that's not super helpful. Snakes. Ancient reflections.
Reflections. Yep.
Book of the Dead.
Okay. Yeah, that's not going to beat literally infinite pirates, weapons, and balls.
They did use ancient reflections on a cargo guard, and that made things take a little longer.
21 armor.
Usual day at the office.
It
I
a
was
lot of armor.
expecting reflections on a reborn snake.
They did that as well.
Yeah.
It was
The
less
second one.
effective.
I get 2 copies,
You do. Yeah.
Yep.
Hmm.
It didn't work out.
No. No, it didn't. All right. Stream. Gonna bring the stream down. Thank you so much for being here. See you. Wait, are we
Bye,
raiding
everybody.
someone? Okay, wait, hold on. We're supposed to raid someone. I learned this from Edelweiss.
Oh. Yes, that's true.
Okay,
me
we're gonna
see.
raid Sway. That's
Yeah.
what we're doing.
That seems like that seems like a
Boop.
solid choice.
Yeah. So everyone, say hi to Sway.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.